and welcome to Ask the Dating Coach. I am your host, Adam Lyons, and I am joined by some incredible guests. First of all, of course, I have my beautiful wife.
Hi, my name is Eve Lyons.
And I have my girlfriend.
Hello.
Kat. And now, of course, I've got my amazing co-host, Lloyd.
What's going on, you guys? Lloyd from The Single Guy, partners with Adam. Glad to be here.
And our special guest, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone a bit about you?
Well, thank you, Adam. I am Dame Berkshire. Привет, Evgenia. Hi, I'm Dame Berkshire, and I'm an actress, and I'm also a small business owner.
Which is awesome. Now, we're coming up to sort of like our second month of doing this podcast. So I'm going to take a minute and thank every single one of you for supporting us and helping us grow. It has been a wild ride. We have been invited on so many different podcasts. I want to say thank you to Michael Sartain that had us on his show. We were on the Playing with Fire show. Just incredible community of dating guys. Really appreciate you guys showing us that support and love for a new podcast coming straight out the gate. Now, we have some really fun topics to talk about today. And the first one that I really want to deal with is Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
Go for it, Lloyd.
Who is that again?
Okay, cool. So for those of you who don't know, or if you haven't been on the internet lately looking at this, Jonah Hill got into a lot of trouble when he was talking to his ex-girlfriend years ago. She decided that now is the time that she's going to release a bunch of text messages exposing him as she claimed he was a narcissist. She claims he's a misogynist. She claims he's just an all-around terrible guy. So basically the text message that she highlighted first, which by the way, there was about 20, 25, 30 different posts on her story that she
Man, she has a lot of free time, huh?
She's got a lot of pent up rage against this guy. So the text message that got him in trouble, I'll read it. It says, plain and simple. If you need surfing with men, boundaryless, inappropriate friendships with men, to model, to post pictures of yourself in a bathing suit, to post sexual pictures. If you need friendships with women who are in unstable places and from your wild recent past, beyond getting a lunch or coffee or something respectful, I am not the right partner for you. If these things bring you to a place of happiness, I support it, and there will be no hard feelings. These are my boundaries for romantic partnership. My boundaries with you based on the ways these actions have been hurt or my boundaries with you based on the way these actions have hurt our trust. Okay, so he's saying she's violated those in the past.
My only request is that next screenshot you let Dane read because she will make it much more entertaining. She will read it with accents and stuff. It will be much more dramatic. Yeah, just make sure next
reading,
one.
I didn't get a good grade for reading in class.
You're very handsome though. That's great.
So anyway, basically he's getting in trouble because a lot of people are saying he's using therapy speak to basically have unreasonable requests in the relationship. She's a surfer. She's going to be around surfing guys. She's going to be posing on model shoots. He's basically asking her to stop doing elements of her career. Now, what her response was she was like, okay, which pictures don't you like? She was complying totally and completely. But now she has since decided that was not okay. And he's a misogynist. But what do you guys think from what I've just said?
Why don't we get Dane's perspective, first of all, as the newcomer on the show?
Well, this is all news to me. I hadn't heard this. So this is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Are you shocked?
I'm sad. No one wants to hear that kind of stuff. I mean, that sounds from the outset very abusive, and there is nothing more unattractive and unsettling than jealousy. So it sounds like he's coming from a place of hurt, and she's in a no-win situation because, like you said, that's her profession, and he also is in the same profession. He's got to be around women as well. So why wouldn't it be a two-way street? And that just really, it's very triggering. That sounds awful. It makes me feel sick to my stomach. A mark of a beautiful relationship is someone who is supportive and a cheerleader and wants you to go and make those connections and have those relationships and flourish.
So I think like a good thing to maybe equate in your industry would be if you were dating somebody, you got a role as an actress, and then they said, that's totally fine, but what wardrobe is trying to get you to wear needs to be altered because it's far too revealing. How would you handle that situation?
I just wouldn't be with someone like that. That's a hard no. That's one of those non-negotiables. My job is my job. I have to do what I have to do. I mean, I was on HBO's The Leftovers, and I was topless. So, and thankfully at the time, the person I was with was very supportive. He was actually on set too. So it's, if you got to do it for the role, you got to do it for the role.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's imagine a real scenario here. And maybe Kat, you can answer this one. You're dating a guy, let's just say for a year. The relationship's doing okay. He gets more and more comfortable. Suddenly he feels that he's allowed to have a say over what you wear when you're DJing. How do you react to that moment? Because you got a year of a relationship in the build up to that. Is that okay? Would that be an immediate like, okay, we're done? Like, how would that conversation go down?
Yeah, I mean, this actually happened. I dated my ex for a year and a half, and after a year and a half, he was like, I don't like, at the time I used to bartend at strip clubs. So I would bartend in my underwear. And he was like, I don't like you bartending at strip clubs. I was like, okay, well, I mean, you met me at the strip club. I served you a beer. Like,
yeah.
Isn't that just how it always
I
is?
was like, all right, well, there's the door. Goodbye.
Oh, you literally gave him that ultimatum. How did he handle it? Did he leave or was he like, I'm sorry?
I mean, I've been single since pretty much up until you.
Gotcha. Do you guys think he was being abusive, or do you think he's being a narcissist?
Well, again, I might have a difference of opinions here as well too. Like, again, sorry, I'm not really. I call myself menace because I'm not a feminist. You know, I'm actually.
Yeah.
I think men have a say as well too sometimes, right? It's two-way street, right? Again, depends, right? Was it before they got into the relationship or after, right? Because if it's before and it was clear expectations and she said yes to it, right, or she complied and then later changed her mind, that's also not okay, basically, right? In my opinion, right? Like if you agreeing and be like, yeah, sure, no problem, whatever, you know, and be like, oh, you know what, that was wrong. That's also not okay. We had discussions about it a lot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, also, like, why, right? Like, I would sit down and again, if you know, my partner is asking some kind of, you know, request, might be jealousy or insecurity or what have you, would call it, right? Where is it coming from, right? It's coming from him not being secure in the relationship somehow, basically, right? Like, well, let's discuss what can be done about your fears so you will be okay with me hanging out with surfer dudes or whatever she's doing there, basically, right? Like, what do you need to feel secure in the relationship so that you are okay with this kind of profession or what have you, you know?
Relationships are a partnership. If you go to your partner and request, hey, I'm not feeling so great about this. What can we do to work towards meeting in the middle and a compromise? Then what are you doing?
So I think this is a good thing to consider. What does it take for somebody to feel secure in a relationship from your perspective? So like, Lloyd, what do you need to feel secure in a relationship?
Well, I need a lot of things. You know, I know that I can.
A lot of things. I'm
not saying that like I'm like I need trust. You know, like if I vocalize my things that I need and you know that sort of stuff and not be judged for it, I think that's fine. I think the problem with Jonah Hill here is that like what he was doing was he was using therapy speak to kind of like talk about it in a very mature manner. But really was really saying was I don't want you taking pictures that with you know in your underwear like. That was what she was doing before they met. So here's the thing about that. So that was his mistake. What I don't like about what the media has covered with this is like, and labeling him a misogynist and an abuser. I actually don't think he's an abuser. He gave her the door. He said, hey, if this is important to you and it makes you happy, like go ahead and do it. But like, we probably can't have a relationship because that's what I need. Now, what I don't like is the way she responded. She responded completely complicitly. She said, what can I do? What pictures don't you like? She totally rolled over for him. And she did this consistently in all the messages that was happening. And so then later on, years later, she's like, oh, he was abusive. He did all this stuff to me. It's like, you had every opportunity to speak up and say, hey, this doesn't work for me. Or at least, hey, you know, I don't know if these boundaries are okay with mine. Right? There should have been a discussion, but at no point in time did she step up. Do I think she regrets it? And I think she's a little bit angry at herself maybe for not doing that. Yeah, probably. I mean, he's a celebrity. She was dating a celebrity. She probably wanted to keep dating a celebrity. You know, when you're in that position, it's like, you know, am I going to get to date another one? Right? She lives in LA. She wants to be whatever. I don't know what her career goals are or whatever, but
you see this a lot in people that date celebrities. And you know, I've had my share of celebrities that I've dated. And in fairness, no one's been like an A-list, but you know, I've definitely dated celebrities before. And the desire to instantly become codependent is really there.
Yeah.
Where you're like, well, this person is so successful. This person is such a somebody. If I'm going to be in a relationship with them, I feel like I have to bend on these things.
Absolutely.
And then you can see that as you get to know them over time and you realize, wait, this is just a regular person. It's a regular person with a lot of followers and a good amount of money, but they're still just a regular person. Suddenly you're like, wait, now I've been with you for this long. This isn't okay. I don't like these things and these things aren't okay. And suddenly somebody feels the need to be able to stand up and speak. And it sounds to me like that's kind of what happened, that that early on she gave in and probably regrets it.
Yeah. She gave in many times. If you look at the messages, like she never once talked back to him. She was like, "Oh, maybe would it be okay if I did this?" And he's like, "No." And that was it. If that was the case, then she should have been like, "Okay, this isn't working for me," and then leave.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm not asking permission from my partner. That's a weird dynamic. I mean, we're all grown adults here. What are you, my father?
Well, I think she was like early 20s when this was going
Even
down.
still,
you
though,
know?
she's an adult, and
Yeah.
that's a relationship. You don't ask permission from your partner on something as banal as, can I do my job? Can I take photos
Right.
on a surfing board in my surfing outfit? I do want to just point out and at least acknowledge that there is something to be said for the experience of women. We're still battling this in society where we definitely want to be amenable and agreeable
Right.
to not seem like we're bitchy or we're too forceful or too strong-handed. So that could have played an element,
Right.
played a part in her wanting to just bend to his will, because also, when you love someone, you don't want to upset them.
Right.
So that could be like play.
Now, I do have a question for you then, Dane, as well, too. So obviously you're an actress, right? And you have to do it for the roles and stuff, going topless and stuff, too. But let's imagine you have like a accounting job, basically, right? You
Sure.
fire on accounting, basically, But you just like going out and being topless with other guys for fun, for hobbies, basically, right? Like, it's your, like,
I'm always doing that on weekends,
I know,
just-
right?
I'm
just saying,
moonlight as a
would
stripper.
that, would that be different for you, right? If your partner asks you not to do that, would that be like,
Of course.
since it's not a job, then?
Of course.
right?
I think it would be a discussion.
Okay.
Like, where can I meet you in the middle?
Yeah.
But you also have to ask yourself, what is a requirement in a relationship, and there's a difference between needs and wants.
Yes.
Do you need to go topless with your guy friends, or do you want to? Because if it's a want, then that can be negotiated. But if it's a need, well, there's got to be some more give and take there.
Yeah, 100%. Well, so my whole problem with this whole thing was that, like, yes, I think Jonah Hill was being too aggressive. His demands were pretty unreasonable. Like, any reasonable person who's a surfer is not going to be able to comply with those. But at the same time, it's like the media is not talking about what Sarah could have done. Her name's Sarah Brady, by the way. She could have voiced her concerns. She could have said, okay, this isn't working for me, and walked away. But at no point in time did she do that. And then on top of that, when she found out that he was like, it wasn't going to work out, she decided that the best way to deal with these issues, according to her healing, was to release them to the world and basically trash him while he just had a kid.
Yeah, it's always tough. Like the people that I've consulted that are dating celebrities as well can be a huge issue, because the desire for them to release the news to the media can be really huge, because they can get a financial benefit for it. And if they're on the way out of a relationship, that's often the move to make sure they get some publicity for what they're doing, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's the hazard that the celebrity gets when they date somebody. So there's, so there is two sides to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to hear from everybody else, like, what does it take to make you feel secure in a relationship? So maybe Dane first. And
Let's see. Someone who just never loses their temper, where I feel safe. Someone who's loyal and honest and can have hard conversations without blowing up or making me feel like I'm in trouble. That's what I need to feel safe.
I love that. Eve, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I resonate a lot with that as well, too. I would add maybe as well, too, not judgmental, right? Even if I have like tough issues to bring up or bad thoughts I'm thinking, basically, right? I want to be safe to address them without felt like, again, attack, judge, or what have you, or in trouble, like I said.
Kat, what do you think?
I'm sure there's a lot of things. I know regarding like the previous topic, when you enter into a relationship with somebody, typically you don't act the way you used to when you were single.
Mm-hmm.
So there should be some kind of a discussion there. Like I can relate to this because this really did happen where one day, I don't even think it was one day. I think the entire relationship, my boyfriend wasn't okay with my profession. And then one day he was like, I can't do your job. I can't deal with it anymore.
To be clear,
I have
did he
leave.
like first hit on you while you were doing your job, and then you got her phone number, and then
I took him home that night. I took him and his friend home that night. Yeah.
So he met you in that context.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And I made significantly more money than him. I paid the majority of the bills. At the time I met him, he didn't have a job.
Holy cow! What is this guy packing? Like, what is?
It was very
large.
large.
Okay.
It was very large.
was like, what's keeping you around?
Until that moment, until that exact moment, there are guys into it. It's like, no way she dated somebody that made less money than her. And they're like, oh, we had a big guy. Okay, fine.
That makes sense.
It was like 9 inches. But anyways, I forgot about that. But when he comes in and he's like, I want you to quit your job and become a librarian. I'm like, no.
Did he say become a librarian?
Yes, he wanted me to be a librarian.
Do you have an affinity for books?
There's
No.
Okay,
I don't read.
But I do want to address
Sorry, we do have a coven of witches today. Look at that.
the coven of witches.
Yeah, a blonde,
And
a
you-
black, and redhead.
Yeah, Dracula.
Thanks for coming, Dane.
we do.
Yeah.
I just want to confirm a coven of witches is not based on hair color.
Is it not?
No, that's only in
No, but
Hocus
I can
Pocus.
confirm we are all witches.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
But we're talking about vampires.
No, I'm the
Vampires.
Dracula.
I'm the witch with a B.
The witch with a B. So
Sure.
no, but actually, this is a good question. I do want to get this out. Was it the size of his penis that made you keep him around, even though
There must
you
have been
were
other
with the
things.
girls?
Probably
Like,
game
I know
or
you,
something.
I know you said it,
know?
but is that true? Is that the actual reason, or was there something else?
He was very attractive. And this was a few months after my roommate had killed himself. So I would say I was looking for
Whoa, okay.
someone to attach to.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
Going in hard there.
Wow.
no, this is
Heavy.
this is
Yeah,
really key
yeah.
because
Sorry to go through that. That's intense.
Yeah, no.
Very
it-
sorry.
as somebody that has
Yeah.
done this for 18 years, and like I said, I've got my master's degree. Like, I suspect it was the roommate scenario that was actually the predominant factor. And it's funny because I know there are going to be guys listening to this like, no way, it's the big dick and he's good looking. No, it is a roommate taking their own life, creating a void, and that desire to fill that void.
Yeah.
The large penis and the crazy sex and the good looking is just the quick package that says this is probably okay, even though the actual package wasn't that great. And by the way, that doesn't mean you should go around, looking for people whose roommates have just passed away so you can find your ideal partner. That's not what I'm saying. What
Trying
I'm-
to sugar
Hey, man.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's tough out there.
Yes.
Sometimes it's
What I'm
tough.
saying is, especially for guys are always looking for dating excuses for why they can't meet someone. It's like, well, I don't have a 9-inch dick. I'm not good looking. I'm not rich. And, the girls I meet, their roommate didn't just pass away.
Right.
So I've got no hope.
I bet during COVID though, it was like buku time, right? Like just so many opportunities.
What
Just had
time?
to-
During COVID?
What time?
Oh, buku! I just buku'd, but tons of people available.
Everyone's
for-
booking each
yeah.
other?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Oh, okay.
I'm still so confused.
Um,
She's so good with words that it's
he was also
Okay.
a musician.
I'm not-
She said-
He was a musician.
Shut us out.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Well, and I love this. Like, I always tell
And he
everyone,
had tattoos.
a musician with tattoos.
Yeah, that's
So-
the thing.
so brave.
There's
He lived with his mom.
musicians with tattoos is the leading demographic of broke people that women have in their homes. They're just freeloading. It's the leading demographic, I'd say. That those and drug dealers.
I
too.
love my
That's very
stray
cool.
puppies.
What?
She likes stray puppies.
Oh, straight up.
No, but I'm always telling
when it
people,
comes
like,
to men.
there are some things you can do as a guy that will make you more attractive. If you want to go down the route of like not actually working on yourself, and I'm not promoting this, by the way. I think you should work on yourself, but like becoming a musician, doing stand-up comedy, these are things that absolutely work time and time again.
Right.
And it's a basic skill set. I know a lot of guys who are not physically attractive, who do not have a giant penis, who are really, really funny and pull a crowd of 100 people, not a huge crowd, but 100 people, and they date the hottest women. The women love them because they're funny and they've got a crowd and they're leading.
Speaking of Jonah Hill, Megan Fox was very openly she had a huge crush on him back in the day when he
Oh,
was
yeah?
really popular. She was like, yeah, I want to have I think it was a Michael Cera and Jonah Hill sandwich.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up on Jim Carrey, Chris Farley. I had a crush on Chris Farley.
What about Jack Black?
Jack Black. Oh, I'm obsessed with Jack Black.
Jack
Jack
Black
Black,
is-
if you're out there, I have your DNA on a rag. It's a long story, but I do. I have his DNA on a rag. So
Aw.
What?
yeah, this
So she can clone it.
What kind of
Obviously.
DNA we're talking
sweat.
about?
It's just sweat.
Okay, all right.
He was performing. He threw a sweat rag. I have
Oh
it.
my.
Like I'm never watching this.
Yeah, no,
Of course.
I will find a way to extract it and turn it into a baby Adam.
Oh, wow.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
So, no, but I think this is fascinating. just understanding the different things that make people secure and make people feel okay in a relationship. And because I haven't shared mine, like I think I'll share mine as well.
What's yours?
For me, the things that make me feel secure in a relationship is when someone's behavior stays consistent with how it was from when I first met them. So I have absolutely, like, I've dated porn stars where when I first met them, they were, going on set and having sex with other people, and it was totally fine because that's what they were doing from day one. Like, it doesn't bother me. What freaks me out is a change in behavior. When somebody who has never done that before suddenly says, I'm going to become a porn star. It's like, whoa, why?
Okay.
Like, why is there this huge change? There's a really famous saying in dating, which is men want a woman who will never change. And women want a man hoping that one day he'll change. And it's such a unique adage, but it really does, at least in my experience of working with people, it really does ring true. Most guys, when they meet a woman, they're like, I just hope she stays exactly like this forever. This is what I want. I want her to be just that way. And most women are like, I can't wait for him to become the man I want him to be. And what's really fascinating, and we see this a lot in dating, is the more a guy adapts to become the man that the woman says she wants him to be, the worse the relationship gets. Until eventually, we get them. We get guys like, I did everything for her. She wanted me to take this career. She wanted me to do this. I did it all, and then she broke up with me.
Yeah.
So Lloyd, I know you've got experience of that as well. Why do you think that happens?
Why are you single? Let's get into you.
I'm not single.
I
have a girlfriend.
It's very misleading because Brandon's very misleading.
It's a very misleading
He's Instagram name is a single guy, but he's not a single guy.
The single guy are the viewers watching my channel.
He's labeling them.
Wow.
You're the single guy.
Single guys then, right? Just like, is it one single guy watching?
One viewer.
Yeah,
It's one viewer watching thing at a time, like there's plenty of people watching concurrently.
Got
So
it.
Anyway, let's not focus on the name. All right. So, when it comes to changing, it depends what kinds of change. I mean, Adam, you've actually said that, Eve has told you to do things and you actually like it. You actually like to improve.
He liked it. He did like it. It was consensual.
Please don't believe it.
Okay. So anyway, but you enjoyed it. You said it makes you better. It makes you do better stuff around the house.
That's right.
But like also at the same thing too, I think it's the big things that you don't really want to change,
Of
like
course.
your path, your career,
Fundamental
your
things.
passions, those things. You really want to hold on to those. And I think when guys change, they sacrifice those things to do the little things that their girlfriend wants, and then they lose the reason why they got them in the first place. But the women never tell you, hey, keep up with your career or like keep doing that stuff. They're always like, oh, you didn't take out the trash, or you keep nagging or doing XYZ. I don't like you when you do that, or why don't you do this instead? And then they sacrifice their own main path to do these little things, and then I think that messes everything.
So actually, I was interviewed on a podcast the other day about this, and I shared this with the people on the podcast, and I'll share it with everyone here as well. Every action I take in life is taken based on the person I want to be, not the person someone else wants me to be, and not the person that I am. And when I think of every action I take as what would the person I want to be do in this scenario, it doesn't matter if somebody else suggests it to me, because I run it through the filter of, if I take this action, do I want to be the person that takes that action? So for example,
That's a really good way to perceive it as well, too, right? Especially like as an actress to be like, I'm going to be like, whatever, Queen of England, right? You're like, no, I'm not going to be bothered by this.
I love that.
yeah, and it's funny because I was talking to our son about this yesterday. I was like, I want you to think about the action you're about to take. And I'm going to support whatever action you take. But I want you to think, who do you want to be when you get older? Because the actions you take today will define who you are when you're older. And he had two choices he had to make. I'm not going to share what it is because it's personal to him and he's a teenager.
Blue pill or red pill?
Yeah, well, no, definitely not blue pill, red pill.
I know.
I
Sorry.
just want to be clear. That was not the choice. As a 13-year-old, no, but it was a very interesting choice for him. It was with regards to a relationship that he has and what he should do about it. And I said, look, there are two choices. Either choice is not dating.
He wasn't dating a relationship. I never said it.
But there are two choices ahead of you. If you take this choice, that will turn you into a certain kind of person. Only you know what that person is. I don't. And then there's another choice. And if you take that choice, it will turn you into a certain person. Which of those two people do you want to be? I'm not going to say who they are. I don't know. Based on that, take the choice. And this is what I do in every single day. Every single day, I look at the choices ahead of me and I think, okay, what choice be? So in my world, it's totally okay if somebody suggests it to me, right? So, you know, if Eve suggests to me that I clean up our bedroom, I think to myself, not should I do that for Eve? I don't blindly do it. I think, do I want to be the kind of person that cleans up the bedroom? And if I feel that, yeah, I do want to be the kind of person who cleans up the bedroom. I clean up the bedroom, not because she asked me to, but because I want to be the kind of person that cleans up the bedroom. And then I'll consider adopting that behavior for myself anyway, and it becomes my behavior. It was my choice. It doesn't matter that somebody else suggested it. When somebody suggests something that I don't want to do, then I'll consider it and I'll think, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be that kind of person. And I'll often address it with them and say, hey, listen, I know you want me to do that. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to do it. This is the reason why I'm not going to do it. And I had that today.
You went and screenshot the text messages and put them out to the whole public later?
Yeah, no,
that's not the, okay.
But I had it today. I had a guy phone me up and he said to me, I think you should make a documentary about me. And I was like, oh, okay, that's great.
Sure.
About it. And
get right on that.
He outlined, you know, the entire documentary that he wanted me to do.
This was all in text.
But you did together.
And he said, I think this is a great idea. I think you should do this. I know you want to, you know, do more video stuff, and I think this is great. And, you know, he's a very confident individual. He's very successful. He said, I'll fund the whole thing. You make it about me. And, you know, we'll do this project together. And I knew that I was going to say no. But he also said to me, and before you answer, I want you to know that we make time for the things we think are important. So don't give me this bullshit. You don't have no time. It was one of the things that he said, which I liked because he made sure that I wasn't going to use that excuse anyway.
Yeah.
And so I just said to him, I was like, that's not the kind of project I want to do.
Yeah.
My future does not involve those kind of projects. However, if you want to do that kind of project, I'm more than happy to introduce you to some people that might want to do that kind of project.
Yeah.
And he was like, thanks, man. I appreciate you telling me that. So I would say exactly the same in a relationship. I would just say, hey, you know what? I really appreciate you wanting me to do this. This is not the kind of thing I would do. However, I'm more than happy for you to hire somebody else to do said thing. You know, get someone else to make a sandwich. Like we'll hire someone together and they will be the sandwich maker. That's not true. I like making sandwiches, but you get the idea.
That's right. You like it.
Yes, I like it.
You like it.
You do
It's
like
consensual.
You love
Yes,
it.
I like
You
it.
love it.
I cook the food in the house, okay?
That's
I like
right.
cooking the food in the house.
He likes it. He volunteers.
Say it like that.
If we just keep saying it, you like it.
It sounds like I'm a victim.
You like it.
Of the thing that I like
No,
doing.
you're not a victim. You have a free say.
Yeah,
Okay.
Of course.
All right.
Free will.
So with that being said, have any of you found yourselves in a situation where you have said yes to something, to a behavior, and then later on thought, why am I doing this? I don't want to do it. And then how did you react?
Yes. Guilty of that. I, just like you, try to think of myself as a bigger person, right? And say yes to things because it's just the right thing to do sometimes. But then, you know, again, I'm old, mature woman, but not mature enough. Still, you know, I'll admit it. Sometimes my ego stems in, but what about me? And I'm like, you're right. You too is important, you know? So I battle with those as well, too, quite a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But what happened? How did you handle it?
You know, sit down and resolve it, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean.
But was there a specific thing you did or?
No, it's just like in general, like a big broad thing that, you know, it's nothing too specific or dramatic per se, right? But it is a more like pattern behavior sometimes, you know, again, I say yes to things that I don't want to really do sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like.
I'm very guilty of that too.
Yeah.
I'm saying yes to too many projects and spreading myself too thin, but I'm trying to come from a place of yes more often.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing how much will open up to you when you do come from a place of yes.
Yeah, correct.
But you do have to be careful and mind your energy and mind your mental health and what do you have bandwidth for. But in a relationship, a real quick story. I remember a relationship. I mean, it lasted like 2 months. It was very short, but they drove me up to an audition. It was a really, really big audition and I nailed it. And on the drive back, they gave me the silent treatment. And I was like, what's wrong? And it made me feel really sick to my stomach. I was like, what did I do wrong? Are you okay? Silent treatment. And later on, he like let me have it. He was like, I just don't understand why, you know, like you're just so good with people. And like you made friends with people in the waiting room and like, you're just so good. And it's just, I don't know where this is going to take you. And I was like, I gotta go. This isn't going to work out. I can't be with someone who makes me feel sick and like I'm in trouble for being a good human for being able to interact with humans. Like this is, let's go ahead and just
his
end.
insecurities.
Yeah, I was super insecure,
Yeah.
and I don't want to find myself trying to make myself smaller for someone else.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm here to do.
I love that.
Right. I think, well, with a lot of guys, maybe not. Women, I've seen this time and time again where they will compromise themselves to like appease the guy that they're with, and way too much for sure. I think guys at the beginning will do stuff, but it usually doesn't work. It ends up repelling the woman, where they'll be like, maybe they'll be asking her out and they want to go do something, and the woman will be like, well, why don't we do this instead? And they're like, oh, okay. But like at the beginning, because he's not staying true to who he is, she ends up not being attracted to him. I think at the beginning, guys make a lot of sacrifices to get laid, let's be real. And they basically morph themselves into whatever person they think the woman's gonna like. Normally 9 times out of 10 it doesn't work, but I see time and time again at the beginning guys will do that. And I definitely remember in my early 20s I used to do that a lot. Like if I thought the girl liked frat guys, I was never really a frat guy, but I tried to act like one, or
Sure.
I would party a lot or do things that was like not really incongruent with who I love to party, but like the kind of things that I was doing at the party would be
Like
much
what?
different.
No, tell me more details.
Oh, dude, I'd be bragging about stuff that I didn't even have. Like, I would be like, oh, yeah, I was on a boat last week, and I'd never been on a boat in my life.
So he's boat
like,
guy.
Yeah. Like, how's the NASDAQ doing? I think,
That's
what
the
the
stuff that
NASDAQ
you did?
stands for. So I compromised myself because I wasn't staying true to who I was as a person. I'm not that guy. And I've always, I think growing up in high school and in college and even after that, like, you kind of learn where you see other people doing stuff and you're like, well, maybe I'll try and act like them, and it feels weird, you don't like it,
Sure.
and you don't get the results that you want, and you're just like, okay, well then you have to find the middle ground of who you are and what feels good to you. And I think guys do that a lot when it comes to women, because they see what kinds of guys the women are going for and they try and act like them, when most of the time they should just
I
be
can
themselves.
assure you that we do that too. Both people in relationship are definitely trying to meet in the middle.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sure you don't care about watching Housewives, those reality TV shows, but I bet you'll do it. And I'm sure there's TV shows that we don't want to, like wrestling. I don't really care about wrestling,
What?
but I'll watch it. No, now I'm a fan. I love wrestling now. I've cosplayed as Becky Lynch, but it's good because sometimes you learn about things that you never would have tried because of your partner. So maybe now you love Bravo. And
you know what's funny? I love those shows, but I don't watch the show. I watch my girlfriend watch the show, and I'm like, so what do you think about her? You think
I
she's
hate her. She's awful.
I'm like, really? Okay, well, tell me about her. And I just like,
she's a cheater.
Opinions, and it's like a science experiment. I love it.
This brings up a really interesting question that came up on a podcast I was on the other day, which is FaceApp. So on the podcast, a lot of the guys that are watching the show said, I don't use FaceApp because that's not really who I am, and I don't want to present myself as fake. The counterpoint to that was there was a guy who was very successful with women, a dating coach on the podcast, and he said, oh, I always use FaceApp, not to completely change my face, but just to enhance. He's like a 20% boost here and there, just to make sure it's not rough around the edges. He goes, it worked great. And he says, I think you should use it. This caused a huge argument between two groups of people. One group saying never use FaceApp, the other group saying always use it. In my experience, every woman uses it.
I just deduced what you were talking about. I had no idea what you were talking about. I thought you were talking about FaceTime app.
No.
So FaceApp, it's a filter, like Facetune. Okay.
Any kind of basically photo editing.
Well, I mean,
airbrushing
Like filters, yeah.
Okay, so I think like you can't avoid that now because even FaceTime, that's what I was like, that's my my reference. I was like, I do FaceTime all the time. That even has filters on it. So does TikTok. You can't avoid them now. So that's just how that works.
So in my opinion, to women, it's totally acceptable to do this. Men definitely still have a block.
Yeah, I don't think they care that much
about doing that.
You look kind of weird if you use some of those filters.
Because it's acceptable that men have pores, men have lines. We don't really see a lot of airbrushed dudes walking around, But for women, it is very much accepted. That's just a thing. Women are airbrushed, but men not so much.
I personally prefer subtle stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of women, again, you don't use it, but lots of women who uses FaceApp just go all the way, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, and then you
tone it down. You look like a hooker,
you
But like I do like subtle appearances because it's nice. Again, as a photographer, we always touch up appearances basically, right? So remove some sweat, remove some lines, what have you. But like some go a bit over the top when they're just like skin in the face. Again, you don't want to alter your appearances too much. You know what I mean? So.
How about you, Lloyd?
What is the question about FaceApp?
Yeah, like, is it okay for men to use like photo editing apps to improve?
I want to
their
see you
image?
totally beautify. What was it called growing up? That thing. It was called. We went and got, and it was like you get actual photos, physical photos, and it
I
was.
know the thing you mean.
What
like
is
in the
it?
shopping mall. I don't remember
Yeah,
it.
I want to see you all like. What was it called? What? Olin Mills. No, I mean I think
You're
it
not
was.
that old. Jeez.
Yeah. Are we talking about like
Earlier than that, you know.
Piggly Wiggly?
I know that is.
Woolworths?
Yeah, Lloyd. So what do you think?
I think it's okay. Just don't change your face. Like if you're giving the appearance of like, okay, so we got a bunch of, you guys can see this. We have a bunch of lights here. They probably make us look great. Actually, I don't know what I look. I might look decrepit.
I better look. Great.
You look great.
Okay, so with a lot of light, like I have bags under my eyes that are pretty bad, but if I have a good light source, you don't really see them.
Sure.
And sometimes they get the light where the light's shining on me and I look like I'm in a horror film. So like if you want to just take the bags away, I think it's fine because you would get that in lighting anyway. But to actually change your face or give yourself a more chiseled jawline, I think that's lying. I don't think you should do that, or if it's like on a dating app or something like that.
I don't know what the extent of the technology is right now. Could we just throw up him being all beautified with the face out? I really want to see it. And like just like compare it with a diagram. Now see how his teeth are. I don't know.
But I've done stats with Photo Feeler, and I did one where I took a photo of myself, and you could see a few lines on it. And then I did it. It was like a 9.4. It's my highest scoring photo. Most of my photos score in the 7s. This is like a 9. And then I put it through the editor, and I didn't do anything besides just So I brightened up my face, and then I made my teeth a little bit whiter, and then I went to a 9.8 from that. And you really couldn't see
From 9.7 to 9.8?
No, 9.0 to 9.8.
Oh,
so
wow.
It went from like the top 10 to the top 2%,
See?
which is a pretty significant jump.
Yeah.
0.7 matters.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. So what do you think?
I'm sorry.
No. Go.
I also, again, not using online dating anymore, but I know there's like a trend that was going on a while back, probably. How obviously girls like do some catfishing, whatever, right?
Mhm.
Right.
There's like I think it was called dogfishing. So girls would purposely.
Dogfishing?
I think maybe I'm remembering wrong.
making themselves look
But yeah,
ugly on
girls
purpose.
will purposely upload like ugly pictures of themselves, so that make sure that the guy they match, they pleasantly surprised.
I
You know
don't
what I mean?
think
Like,
there's no way they're
yeah,
doing
no, there was a trend
that.
like this.
I
as well,
kind of
too.
love
Yeah.
that.
Really?
Yeah.
I love
Are they,
that.
And
are they
I
actually
would-
using this for dating?
They were doing it.
Yeah.
Because beautiful women were doing it.
I would do
love
that too.
that. I would totally do
If I were single, I would play with that a little bit just to see like
Yeah.
what I can get. Just because again, it's only up the hill from there. You know what I mean? Like, it's only gets better. You know what I mean? Like if you like this, no makeup. You're gonna like me like that.
Like,
you know?
because
Those
I only
dates
have
went
2
awful.
modes. It's only
Yeah.
like Hollywood and
Yeah.
just like homeless.
Same.
So I might as well. You might as well see me as my true troll self on a daily basis, because when I'm not on set, that's what I look like.
So what do you think, Kat? Like, is it okay for men to use those kind of like photo editing apps? Are you for it? Are you against it?
I've never met a guy that uses the photo app. So like on
Maybe you
that
don't know.
podcast,
Maybe
that
you
was
know.
like
Yeah, that you
the
know of.
first guy that was like, yeah, I use FaceApp. I'm like, how do you know what FaceApp is? I'm like, what? And then I saw his Instagram, and he looks like an Abercrombie and Fitch model. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, these are really good. You must get laid a lot.
Apparently
So worse.
so.
So worse.
But yeah, I mean, I've never really met guys that like really do that kind of stuff. Like I edit all of my photos just a little bit because I like stuff like FaceApp or Facetune where you just hit like the auto one. It just kind of like
Just you out.
yeah. Like whenever I'm on
I think the
Instagram, I
other
always
one does too much, but yeah,
I agree too. Yeah.
It's a little.
Show us what it does to you.
Oh, yes.
Well, it depends which app you're using, I guess. The
Okay.
auto.
I
Like
just
for
want to see
Facetune,
because I think you're so beautiful. Like you look great.
Thank
I
you,
can't imagine this
appreciate
getting
it.
any better. Like he has a beautiful
You can
face.
get to a 9.8.
9.8. I want to see
It's
what
a 9.0 to a
9.8 means.
9.8.
Yeah, he's
For the record, most of my photos are a 7. You might be into eyebrows. If your chicks aren't into eyebrows, then they're like, they don't like
I love eyebrows.
Well, that makes sense.
yeah. But I don't know. Anytime I use Instagram, I always swipe the Paris filter on it, like on everything. It just makes everything just look
Oh.
cleaner.
Yeah.
But I'm not sitting there like morphing my body and like changing my eyebrow. Like I'm not doing anything crazy like
Adjusting
that.
your
It's just
DNA.
like a slight filter over everything just to make it
People would be like,
cleaner because I feel like that's what's needed with Instagram.
So,
People aren't gonna like an ugly photo.
yeah.
Not just physically ugly, but just like if it just looks unclean.
So let's go a step further because
What do you think, Adam?
well,
You've asked all of us.
Yeah.
Put us in
Well,
the hot seat. What do you
Well,
think?
I want to go. Well, from my perspective, I think it's totally okay if somebody wants to do something along those lines.
Mhm.
The reason being, which gets to my next point,
Okay.
if it's okay for women to use surgical enhancements on their body, is it okay for men to add surgical muscles.
Sure.
Like pec implants,
Whatever,
or calf
buddy, your
implants.
choice.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
is it attractive?
I don't think it'd be attractive. I mean, I tried to get my ex to get lip filler, but
Oh.
I don't know about muscles.
Because
No about lip filler.
Did you
I
have
can
some-
see muscles.
He was a
lip filler.
very
No,
pretty
no.
man. He needed lip filler.
did you have some
Oh.
like scraggly lips or
I don't
something?
know.
Just too
No,
thin.
he had some nice big lips. He needed bigger ones. Yeah.
See, like, I don't know about lip filler. I would probably angle on that one. But like muscles, I mean, again, I don't mind, right? I agree with Dane. Like, your body, your choice, do whatever hell you want. Like, but like super artificial lips is like,
Well, so your body,
You know?
your choice, but is it attractive? Like, if a guy goes out there now and is like, you know what, I'm going to get some muscle implants.
It totally depends. Like,
Yeah.
they did it to the extreme, and like their calves are the size of basketballs.
I mean, let's be real. Some of the dudes, like that guy who was the Liver King, I thought that dude had implants. He was just jacked on steroids.
I know, right?
The Liver King?
The Liver King. Oh my
Who's
God, we
that?
have to explain everything.
Oh, no.
Liver King is an influencer who promotes eating organ meat.
Yeah.
So he says
That's so
like,
cool.
liver, heart, kidney.
You
it's good.
make that face back.
I'm a
Mr. European.
vegetarian of 14
true,
years.
true. Yeah,
I'm not
you are.
eating any
Yeah.
organs.
I
Well,
love
not
organs.
any animal. Yeah, I'll eat human ones.
He's a bit crazy. Anyway, he said he wasn't. He said he was all natural, and it was all this diet that he was on. That's what he was selling. He made millions of dollars from it.
Okay.
Come to find out, oh, whoopsie doopsie, I've been spending 25 grand on steroids every single
Did he
month.
say that?
Like-
Whoopsie doopsie.
I don't think he said oopsie doopsie.
I don't know if that's
But it
something the
was-
Liver King would say,
I
but
believe it was 15 grand a month. on
Wow.
steroids.
oh, it was 15 grand.
15
Sorry,
grand.
my apologies.
Jeez.
15 grand a month.
That's a lot.
Well, I mean, so yeah, it just depends on what your individual tastes are. Some people are into
Yeah.
that. Some people don't care. It's you're
Like, the reason I'm saying is because I feel that, and this is where it comes back to that point, most women want their man to be natural. Most men want their woman to look
natural. Oh,
Enhanced.
they
No?
want us to look natural. Oh,
I prefer
like-
natural too.
yeah.
But
You
yeah.
prefer natural look on men.
And women too.
Yeah,
Like again, I don't
have
mind
you
women
pulled-
enhancing their stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like, but again, right? If you skinny woman and you have like it's clearly unproportionate. You know what I mean? Like or like
That's a
Kardashian fat.
clinical
You know what I mean?
term.
Like you know what I mean? Like because it's
Agreed, but that's disproportionate,
Yes.
not enhanced. Because I know that you're okay with a woman
Yes.
having enhancement,
yes.
but I find that most women don't actually want their man to get enhanced. Like I'll give you
Yeah.
some extreme
I mean-
examples. Things that I've seen in the dating world. I've seen men that have paid to have their legs broken
Oh,
to extend their shins so they can become taller. That's like a real thing. You want to be 6 feet?
Yeah.
You can have someone smash your shins.
That makes me so
extend them and
sad.
make you taller.
I've heard about
that's
this.
sad.
Yeah.
I've heard about this. Do they lose any sort of like functionality in their legs? Like, can they not jump
Oh,
anymore or
I
something?
don't ask them. Like I've met guys that have done it, and
Wow.
I don't ask them like because to me like that's like a bit too probing.
Okay.
Like and likewise, like to just be clear, I've met a guy who had his penis enlarged,
Okay.
and he apparently
There's-
and again I don't know, I don't look
There's
at it, right?
things.
TMI. It's
Yeah.
fine.
No, but he
But yeah.
said
Yeah,
he
yeah.
said there was a doctor in Poland and he was flying to Poland
Wow.
and they did a thing and they could increase it by like 3/4 of an inch to an inch every time he went and he had to heal and he'd been doing it for years and extending it and extending it and extending it.
It probably looks gross. I can't imagine.
He said he
looks
got up
good.
to 8 inches and he goes, it used to be really small.
Oh my.
I'm not arguing that it's larger, but I'm just picturing the swelling, the inflammation, or the healing process. It's probably weird angles, like going like this.
What if it's perfect?
Frankenstein dick.
I would then that surgeon deserves like a Nobel Peace Prize or
Yeah.
something, you know?
But imagine, I mean, it's got to be really difficult. Everyone's very sensitive, and we all have our insecurities
Yeah.
about things that we were born with, that we, to a certain extent, can't change. And I can imagine that if I was a man and I was born with a less than stellar penis, that it would be a huge, especially in our society, it is, you're a dead man walking. If you don't have a great big girthy penis, that's a mark of, no one wants you. So what are you supposed to do? You got to do something.
Well, I know
I
women
agree
who
with that
prefer
too,
small
you know?
penises, though. Like,
Well, yes,
met
of
some who do,
course.
yeah.
But there aren't actually that many, like beyond this
Yes.
one doctor. I've never
And
met
this
him
one
in
guy
London.
that she was with.
Yeah, like no, what I mean is beyond.
There's been a
beyond, Yeah, but beyond that doctor, and I don't even know the doctor. Like I've heard of so many guys attempting to do this, and there are no real solutions. Like it's not a thing. Like
I've heard about one.
yeah,
It's called jelking.
I've definitely heard of it.
You've heard of it?
What is
I've
that?
heard of it, but I have not seen conducive evidence that it works.
What is that? What is that? Is that
I don't know.
Like the weights on
Okay,
it?
so this a porn star told me about this. It's basically
Male or female?
male.
Okay.
And it's this like
Relevant.
I think I might be butchering this, but you get in the shower, you turn the water up really, really hot and for 30 minutes you take a towel and you basically jerk yourself off, extend the penis, and you're supposed to do this every single day.
Please do not follow this advice. This is not a medical advice.
I am not a doctor.
We do not
let
guarantee
me
that
make this perfectly clear. I am not a doctor recommending this.
It's just a rumor we heard.
This is Lloyd, the dating coach, talking about a possible solution that I have heard of. Okay.
Did it work?
I mean, it's the same.
He says you can get an inch.
It's the same theory with a wool sweater. If you shrank it accidentally in the wash, you're supposed to get it wet again with hot water and just stretch it.
Yeah.
So just wool sweater your penis.
And you do that every day for months and increase its size by, I think, about an inch, or you said an inch and a half or something like that.
So I definitely know about the shit increasing. I'm not 100% sure about the penis increasing, but I definitely met somebody who believed or who said they did. But I don't know. Maybe they just go around telling everyone that. And then when they go to bed, they go, it was bigger yesterday. I don't know. So,
Wait, whatever works, right?
No, it's cold today. But here's the thing, and that is a point. Most of the problems that men have in being physically attractive, which would be size of penis and height, which are often the two requirements that women say they want.
It makes me so sad because I have no requirements for either. I have dated men shorter than me. I've been with the smallest penis in my life in the same week as the biggest penis of my life. And I can tell you the sex with the smallest penis was the best. And the sex with the biggest penis was the worst, because the whole time he just kept asking, does it hurt? Do you like this? Does it hurt? I'm like, do you want it to? He had been raised clearly to just rely on how big he was and not to have any interaction as a partner.
Maybe he was being concerned. Does it hurt? Are you okay?
I think you can read my face. It's not hurting. I'm enjoying it, I guess, until you were asking that. It's weird.
One time I had a Threesome situation happen, and during this encour,
how many women were there?
Oh, it was 3. It was me and another guy, and it was 3 women.
So the clarify situation.
5 dudes.
It was 5 dudes.
Hey, you never know.
We all got in line and marched. That's what happened. So anyway, we brought these 3 girls back. We're all having a good time. And
who got the third one?
What?
Who got the third one?
What do you mean the third one?
Well, how did you split it down the middle?
Yeah,
we met them all at the same time.
No. Each guy had one chick. Where's the third one go?
Oh, she holds the camera. I don't know.
I don't know what she was up to.
No, like one dude we have a threesome situation, and then she'd switch, and it was like everybody was having a good time. It was that's how it worked. So anyway, I was in this situation, and the guy was way more hung than me. I mean, he took off his pants, and I was like, I need to leave the room. It was like he drops out this hammer, and. Anyway, so he has sex with all of the women, and I'm feeling really self-conscious about this, by the way. Like, I am like not liking it. It took me forever to get hard. So anyway, like
just slap it.
I felt embarrassed. I was
just
like,
go to the shower and milk it. 30 minutes later, they'll be ready.
I'll be ready in 6 months, you guys. Just give me some time.
No one leave the room.
So anyway, this happened, and so we had sex, and then afterwards I'm like, oh, that was awesome. But at the same time, I'm like, God, this guy showed me up. I can't hang out with him anymore. So, but then
your friendship plucked him.
But did you survey the ladies to see who they like?
No, that's what I'm getting to the point. I'm getting to the point. She called me up, and she's like, hey, we were all talking, and we all agree that you have the perfect size penis.
Oh, yay!
And I was like, that's incredible.
My question to you,
don't know how much this phone call meant to me.
But question: how did you know that she didn't call the other guy and say the same thing to the other guy?
I don't.
Okay, perfect.
But I'm
they're not
going
to do that. Like it's. I mean, everyone's different, but we don't. I mean, I don't personally prefer to be, pummeled from the inside. I actually prefer it on the average side or smaller.
Yeah. It made sense. I saw the expression on their face after. They looked pretty worn out when he was done with them. They couldn't. It was over after the Threesome was over after he had sex with everybody. There was no more sex to be had.
I think I was really fortunate. So I learned dating from a dating coach many years ago. His name was Thomas Westenholz. People have asked me who was the dating coach that taught me. So his name was Thomas Westenholz, and he Tomcat. We used to call him back.
Shout out to Tomcat.
Yeah, shout out to Tomcat. He actually teaches parents how to have better connections with their kids nowadays. He doesn't do dating anymore.
What a transition!
A transition!
Really cool. But one of the things that I love about him, and I probably shouldn't have said his name now based on what I'm about to say. Sorry, Tom. And I don't know if this is true, but I'm assuming it is. Tom was dating at the time a Madonna lookalike.
Okay.
Oh,
Like,
fun.
And I don't just mean a lookalike. I mean a professional.
Professional.
What age,
Okay.
Madonna?
Like young Madonna.
Hey,
Not
she's
now.
timeless.
And
I
the
don't know
cool
about
thing
now.
is, he said to me, he's like, the key to getting good at dating is to decide your goal and get it. So when I started dating, I said, I'm going to date Madonna.
Oh, okay.
And he goes, Madonna was a bit too old for me. So I've got a woman who looks like Madonna, sings like Madonna, and performs like Madonna. And he goes, I got Madonna. I got the, he's like, I did it. And one day we were hanging out and we were talking about penis size. And Tom says, you don't need a big penis. And he just like said it matter-of-factly. And Tom was a ginger guy. And I was like, oh, it's pretty awesome to say that. And he goes, yeah. He's like, you don't need a big dick. And I was like, do you have a big dick? And he goes, no, I don't have a big dick. I have 10 fingers, I know what to do with them. And he goes, my dick is bigger than any lesbian woman's dick in the world. And he's like, because they don't have a dick. And yet most women will agree that lesbians are better in bed than men. But they don't have a penis. And I thought,
They know too much.
if they can do it without a penis, I can do this.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend was right next to him when he said that.
Yeah.
And she said, he definitely doesn't have the biggest penis of anyone I've been with. That is the best sex I've ever had in my life.
Yay. It's a happy story.
That's very un-Madonna of her to say, though. Because Madonna dated Dennis Rodman for like how long,
Oh, that's right.
You know?
Wow.
I'm sure she doesn't. I'm sure she cares about that. But anyway,
Right. But,
I appreciate the story.
and I was, this is 18 years ago. This was the start of my dating career. And I think it was so important for me, especially, not because I have a small dick, I don't have an average sized dick, but it beat out of me this idea that a physical issue would hold me back. Right, that like it didn't matter whether I had I don't have a 9-inch dick. Sorry, but it beat.
It's okay.
I've noticed, but like that's a thing that hadn't held me back right from the beginning because I had a strong male role model telling me right from the beginning,
Yeah.
get good in bed, don't worry about your dick, like you that will work itself out. And it was so cool because he would actually teach lessons about how to go down on a woman, how to use your fingers, how to pleasure her. And, his girlfriend would explain it. And it was so valuable to me when I was learning how to talk to women, because one of the things that holds guys back, I'm going to be real with you, like guys here, it's the fear of failing in bed.
Of course.
The number one reason why guys suck with women. It's everything you want to believe is all actually irrelevant. The fear is if you take a woman to bed who's beautiful, that you're going to mess it up. And the reason I know this is when I was 23 years old, I had a woman that I was really trying to date. And she invited me to a birthday party. And it was me, 5 dudes, a woman, and her. And all the guys, I know, and all the guys were like, which one of us is going to have sex with this chick? We were just hanging out, like hoping. And it gets to like 2 a.m. And she says, I know what you men are waiting for. You want to know which one of you gets to fuck me.
Who is this woman?
Very upfront. Very upfront.
Yeah, no.
She was the first American I ever had sex with, which we'll get to.
Line up and present yourself.
She was in New York at that house.
Yeah.
Not an accurate representation.
Yeah, no, she was amazing, and shout out to Mel because she was awesome. But she said, I've decided none of you men are going to pleasure me on my birthday, so you can all go home. I'm going to sleep with the woman, and she kicks everyone out. And as I'm walking out of the house, she goes, where you going? And I was like, well, you told everyone to leave. She goes, I told you to spend the night. And I was like, yeah, but you told everyone to leave. She goes, are you an idiot? You're staying in the spare room. Like, that's where you're staying. I was like, yeah, but you told all the men to leave. She goes, how are you this dumb? Because you're my guest. Don't leave. Stay in the room. Your house is an hour and a half away. Stay in the room. I was like, okay. So I go in the room and I go to sleep hearing the sounds of these 2 women having because I was not into dating at this point, by the way. It's like 3 years before I learned dating. And these 2 women are having sex. Halfway through their encounter, Mel comes into the room and says, we need a dick. Come on. And I'm like,
It's an emergency.
Yeah, she goes,
It's an
we
emergency.
need a penis. Come on. Come have sex with us both. And I was like, oh, I'm tired. And she said, what? I was like, I got work in 4 hours. She goes, you stupid. Come in. Come on, we need a dick. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm just going to go to sleep. She goes, whatever. And she left the room. Anyway, so I know. I said, it was just before I go to a date, right? So I literally said no. And I know why I said no. I said no because I wasn't experienced with one woman.
Well,
And I was
but-
terrified.
also, like, it makes you, I mean, there's something to be said for being treated like a human. I mean, you know, as a whole person, not just for the appendage. It sounds
No,
like
I wanted
they're
to be used as an appendage.
But there's a better way than sounding like, "Hey, we're doing some IKEA furniture. Hurry, we need the screwdriver. We need the screwdriver." Like, you know.
It was her birthday. No, I agree with you. I think they could have made it more comfortable for me.
Sure.
But it was her birthday.
Sounds like a little intimidating.
It was very intimidating.
Sure.
Which is what held me back. Anyway, so the point is, years later, I did get into dating. I got good at dating, and I did date her. And we had amazing sex, and we had amazing experiences. And of course, we spoke about that night. And I said to her, I was like, I was just worried that, I wasn't going to be good in bed. And she goes, I totally get it. She goes, well, just for what it's worth, she goes, you're great in bed. And I was like, I wasn't. But that's the point. And I think a lot of men, it's really worth you getting confident in bed. Even if that means joining a class, getting educated, studying what it takes to pleasure a woman. So you kind of get excited about it. Like, I want to test this skill out. I want to see if I can make a woman squirt, or I want to see if I can, make a orgasm from anal sex, whatever it is that you want to try. Like, that's cool to learn. And it gives you this level of confidence when it comes to dating, or at least in my experience.
That's all good and well. But the most important thing is to communicate with your partner, the specific partner you're going to be having sex with, to see what they want, because everyone's different. I mean, that's great that you learned all that stuff, but what if all of that has nothing to do with the partner that you maybe they're just into you reading them Harry Potter and they get off from that, just that alone.
Yeah.
What if you're not good at reading?
No, you raise a good point. I think that is important. Communicating with your partner is the most important thing.
That's the best tool.
So and this is a good question for you guys. What is the hardest thing you've ever had to communicate that you want to try in the bedroom? So, like, have a think. Like
I gotta admit, after interviewing all these people on our podcast before, I am not experienced as all these other ladies. I've been missing out in my life because, oh boy, do I have those stories. I'm like, I am pretty vanilla after all of this. Although we do have like unconventional relationship and stuff too. Compared to the stories I've heard on this podcast,
it's called balance.
I am pretty vanilla threesomes over here. You know what I mean? Like, so I
got you,
really,
you know what I mean? You've clearly been failing.
I don't know, my world's been blowing up there. So I wouldn't even know. I don't, again, any request I had, always been fulfilled. But again, now in looking back, my requests were pretty normal compared to how other people do their stuff. So I'm like, I need to step up my game.
How about you, Lloyd?
How about you, Lloyd?
I had a weird request done to. I haven't really done any like requests that are like worthy of this podcast, but I did have one woman.
No. You gotta share. We will share.
I have something to share, but it's like the reverse. I had a woman who I was seeing who called me up one time, and she told me she wanted me to rape her. And so I was like,
that's a standard Tuesday voicemail. Like, hey, Lloyd.
Let's definitely bleep that word out.
How's it going?
Let's definitely bleep that word out.
Oh, we can't say rape?
Oh.
I didn't say it.
Let's bleep that one out too.
I didn't.
Really?
Grape.
He's
the
consensual.
grapist.
She wanted you to take her forcefully.
Yeah. Well, that's not what she
By
said.
surprise. By surprise.
She said literally RAPE. Please do that to me.
Got it.
And so I got off the phone and I'm like, okay.
I'm gonna work out where she lives.
Okay. So I was like, all right, well, maybe I'm like, how do I do this in a way that it's going to be okay? Anyway, I just thought about it way too much and I never did it.
Good. Yeah.
I mean, good. Yeah.
It sounds difficult. I don't know if I could do that if I was a man. I don't know.
I mean, I assume she just
It's
wanted
like-
me to take her very aggressively and not say anything, or maybe like break into her house or something like that. I don't know.
You should have tied her up.
Yeah, or something.
I mean,
don't
it
know.
sounds a lot like, like you could just do something from Sex and the City with Samantha and, Smith Jarrett towards the end. Like, just be like, oh no, my husband's going to come home and like, shut the fuck up. That was 20 years ago when that episode came out. So that's not that like of a taboo thing now.
Yeah.
It's been out for a while, but yeah, it might be difficult when you're raised to respect women, to respect partners. It's like,
I would have done it if I had trusted her more. And it's a good thing I didn't, because then later on she went the full other way, which was then we had sex again, and she was making me ask for I had to for me to take her sleeve off, I had to ask permission, and it was like the complete opposite of what she was before. And I'm like, okay, all right. This person's all over the place with their requests.
I mean, I do think it's important, right? Obviously, you dodged a bullet there because she said it so explicitly and out there. Then obviously that's that's a good warning sign, and you reacted, I think, appropriately. But it is a somewhat common request for a woman who's like, "Hey, I want to be taken forcefully."
Yeah. Didn't you have a situation similar to that?
Yeah. It was a horrible situation where she said, "I have to hit her." And I said no, and then she hit me and said,
"That's never
now
okay.
hit me." And I said no, and then she hit me again.
That's never
and
okay.
I said no.
You just get beat up.
And then she said yes, and she hit me again. And then I caught her hand, and she went yes, just like that. And I went no, and I let go, and she hit me again. That's basically what happened.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it was a unique experience. But there are women out there that want that kind of aggressive, forceful.
A lot of women have that fantasy. I think it's like a high percentage.
Yeah,
they've done
it's
studies
super
on.
common.
They've done studies
it's like
on this.
All those cliches and those search categories.
I think if they go into the studies, though, you delve into it. It's like, okay, the fantasy is about that word that I can't say, and the guy ends up being a guy who she would probably say yes to anyway. That's the whole fantasy behind it, I think.
And I think this is something that's worth thinking about. Sometimes a fantasy is better as a fantasy.
Sometimes,
correct,
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think I've definitely seen situations where someone has said, "I really want to try something," and then once they do, they're like, "You know what? I really don't like this."
That's the best way to find out that you don't like it, though.
Yeah, well, you have a safe word or something like that.
Yes.
What's yours?
Keep going. I'm just kidding.
Foliage.
So, do you guys know the traffic light system?
Yes.
No. Please
Red.
explain.
So I think the traffic light system is a good, safe, generic system. Do you want to explain it? Because you know it very well. Give you explain it to everybody here, just so they all know.
Yeah. I don't remember if it's red and yellow or red and orange. If it's a traffic light, I guess it's red and yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's red and yellow. But basically, you say yellow if you're getting close to wanting to stop. If it's like almost too much, it's like warning, like
Yeah.
And then if you actually want them to stop, then you say red.
Okay.
So it's
Can you
instead of
remember
just
that?
having like
I can remember that.
Can you
Yeah.
remember that? Okay, perfect.
yeah. So instead of just having one safe word where it's like, okay, we're done, like stop,
Mhm.
you're kind of being like, hey, like I use it more with like when I'm hitting somebody. If it's like
For domination.
Go on.
That makes sense.
like spanking or something like that.
Right.
If it's getting to be too much, then they'll say yellow, and then I'd be like, okay, that's getting close to the limit. So you dial it back a little bit.
It's like
Mhm.
adult Red Rover.
But
Right.
what's cool about this system, the reason I like it, is it adds the color green, which means
I don't ever have the color green.
Well,
I've never used green.
Well, it's for people that want to, it allows you to be like, "Oh my God, that hurts," green, right? So it's like you get to vocalize what's going on, but you also confirm to the partner, no, but that's.
I'm just imagining you sleeping with a girl and her just screaming, "Green, green, don't stop, green."
And you're like, "Who's green? Who's that guy?" It's not my name.
This is all totally different though in the UK. The yellow means get ready to giddy up. The yellow comes before the green light. That's how you know it's time to start driving. So that
That's-
could be a little
that's
difficult
true.
with someone from the UK.
Oh,
That's
across
true,
the
yeah.
pond. That'd be
Yeah.
some
You need
crazy
to get ready to
sex.
go.
Yellow. No, I said yellow.
That is
My-
true. Same in Russia. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
What a good fuzzy memory now. Because it is
Aw.
like red, yellow, green, go.
Yeah.
So
You say red, yellow, green, go.
no.
Red, yellow, green, go.
Yeah. It's just more. Yeah, it's like. Well, it gives you time if you're neutral to put it in first gear and just fucking go. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, which
Back in the day.
wow.
So how about you two? Have either of you had a scenario where you wanted to communicate something you wanted, but it was a bit difficult, or somebody was trying to communicate with you something they wanted and that was very difficult for them to say?
No.
Jane?
Okay.
I can't think of anything at the moment. We've been covering so much, and I'm just drawing a blank. Not really. I feel like I've been very lucky to have the. I mean, as you grow older, you find your voice to be able to speak to partners. I think when you're growing up and you are first becoming a sexual being, that there's a lot of nuance and that you're not like comfortable saying yet, and asking for things or saying, I don't actually like this.
Mhm.
So it takes a long time actually to come into your skin as a sexual person and be comfortable and confident asking what you want.
Yeah.
So the one that I've had, and it isn't even sexual, but it is about sex.
Sexual.
Is sexual. When I first started learning dating, by the way, I had really big braces, and so I had a wrist, and I was giving lessons on sexual escalation.
on sexual
Yeah, so I'd be like, escalation. Yeah, that was exactly how it was.
Super sexy, by the way.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Presented by Daffy Duck.
Yeah, it really, really, really wasn't. But something that I had to explain a lot, especially when I was like running nightclubs in London, was that I'm polyamorous. And so I would say to a woman, like I'd meet her, would start flirting and start making out maybe, and I would say, hey, just before this gets any further, I just want to let you know I'm polyamorous. I'm currently seeing this many women, and I don't want to lead you on and let you believe something is more than it is. But I really like you. If you want to hang out, like take you to dinner, and progress the relationship. And I remember there was one young lady that went, oh. And I was like, oh, what does that mean? And she's like, oh, I can't handle that at all. And I was like, oh, well, I appreciate you telling me. She goes, but I still want to date you. And I was like, oh, well, I am polyamorous. That's not going to change. She goes, yeah, that's going to break my heart, but it's okay. I'll go for it anyway.
Aww.
And I was like,
She's into some BDSM.
I mean, she's into something.
That's the ultimate BDSM.
Yeah. And I was like, honey, I'm going to say no.
Oh.
And she's like, what do you mean you're going to say no? I was like, I am not in this to break hearts. I'm in this for a great time to meet amazing people. I run nightclubs. I'm out every night meeting new women. Like I'm going to break your heart every day.
Fancy.
And she's like, but I like you. And I was like, here's what we're going to do. You're going to be my new best friend.
Aw.
We're going to find you a man.
Oh.
And she went, really? I was like, yes. And so I went on a mission to like
Sweet.
find her a nice guy that could like look after her and help her out.
Awesome.
Well, thanks. But I think like that's the cool thing about communicating needs with somebody
Yeah.
is when someone communicates a need, you're either willing to fulfill it or you're not. But what's really cool is when you're not, you give them a route to get it
Yeah.
rather than just saying no. And I think
Agreed.
right, but even when you're dating somebody, which is what I think is really important. Like if I was dating somebody and for 6 months everything was great, and then one day my partner said, hey, I really want to do XYZ with you. And I'm like, this goes back to what we said earlier. I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. Rather than just saying, that's not for me, you can just say, hey, you know what? That's not me. But if you really want to do this.
There's an app for that.
Yeah, I'm happy to help you find a way to do it. And to me, this is what it means to be like optimally attractive, because you're ensuring your partner gets what they need, even if it's something you don't want to do. And this now goes back to that Jonah Hill thing right at the very beginning, which is clearly his partner had a need. She wanted to surf and she wanted to be comfortable. And it wasn't something he was comfortable with her doing. But rather than giving her an alternate choice, he said, well, if you want that, I'm out. And of course, it's completely his prerogative to say that.
Sure.
But what he didn't do is give her the way to win. And to me, that's why she felt that he was being a narcissist. Because she was giving a request, and she's not really saying, can I get A or B? She's really saying, I would like to achieve A. What can I do to get it? And if he'd have said, look, I'm not comfortable, however, if A, B, C, D, E criteria is met, I'm cool with it. Or, if we do it in this way, I'm okay with it. And it gives people a route to get there. And I think that doesn't read as manipulative or narcissistic, but that's now a communication. Okay, I hear what you want. I want to help you get it.
Yeah, like right, like what is the problem with that basically? Right? Why is it bothering him? You know what I mean? Like so
Right,
that's
exactly.
the main like angle, right? Like so let's get rid of the core issue there.
Compromise.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. I mean, if they had talked about it more, but they had therapy sessions. We don't know actually what went down, but clearly from those text messages, there was no sense of negotiation. There was no sense of like, hey, like where can we find some middle ground here? It was like, hey, this is it, or we're not meant for each other. Like it was kind of like that. And, she
Of
didn't
all the
want to lose him.
things.
So
Of all the things, it seems like such a surface level thing. Where are the fundamentals? Like, hey, I'm not really comfortable with you being a racist, and that's my hard line. It's like, What, really? You care about her being a surfer and wearing a thong suit? I assume it was a wetsuit that was a thong. I don't know. What was it? Or underwear?
I mean,
Like-
I'm sure some people like
Bikini.
Yeah, bikinis.
A
Right?
bikini?
I mean, bikinis these days, they get smaller and
There
smaller.
are worse things to care about, that are like deal breakers than a bikini.
I feel like that probably wasn't the only thing.
Yeah, there was. I'm sure there was other stuff. He said stuff about like her talking to other dudes and like being flirtatious and like other women in her life that from like her past that she used to party with all the time. Sounds like she was a partier back
This
then.
all sounds very much like it's coming from a place of insecurity with
Exactly,
him that
right?
he needs to work on.
Well, but again, it's at the same time, right? Like if he's insecure, she should ask like, hey, what can I get you to make you secure, right? Because again, her covering up her bikini, like I agree, that might not be reasonable, but make him feel comfortable so that he knows that this is his woman and they're together no matter what, right? So that you're like, yeah, whatever, bikini, no bikini. Like again, you know what I mean? Like again,
Sure.
Because again, you're right. It comes from insecurity, right? But like, make
But
him feel
also-
secure then. You know what I
But
mean?
it's
Like,
not my
that's-
responsibility, like with my ex, to make you feel comfortable because I am doing my job. Like, you want me to not talk to people in the waiting room? You want me to not get the job? Well, then I'm broke and you got to pay for me.
Yeah.
So at some point, you got to have some accountability and responsibility for your own stuff. And
Yeah, I agree with you. I believe if you want to make the relationship work, you can work with somebody and say, okay, I'm gonna do this.
yeah.
What are you gonna need to feel comfortable with me doing this?
And side note, let's get some therapy.
Right, and if nothing
They were in
exists,
couple.
then-
Apparently, they
Oh,
were in
right,
couples therapy for a
right.
long time.
Wow.
My guess is they were talking about Jonah's needs a lot, but we don't know the
We don't
conversations
know, but that
were
sounds like it
happening before then. It just sounds like she didn't speak up. She never spoke up, and then afterwards she was like, "I feel manipulated," and he was a narcissist. But it's like, if you had spoken up, then you'd voiced yourself. Like you're an adult, like. That should have been something there's two sides to every relationship, and there's,
Of course.
if you label somebody as an abuser, like, then you're basically taking yourself out of, you're absolving yourself of responsibility.
I agree 100%. So obviously, this show is all about answering your questions. So I do want to give, for anybody who's watching live, if you have questions, there's an opportunity for you to ask questions to myself or anybody else on the panel that you guys may have. So please feel free to put them in the comments, and we'll go through and do them. Do we have some questions that have come up
We have
already?
one right now.
Yep, let's go for it.
How should someone set expectations and boundaries in a relationship?
So the first question is, how can somebody set expectations and boundaries in a relationship?
Well, I'll answer the way that I do it, which is like, it's not a hard line. Like everyone talks about this, like with the social media therapy that's going, which is another critique of what's going on. Like just having boundaries.
Wait,
like,
what's
things
social media therapy?
like, social media therapy is because like a lot of therapists will post or like people talk about therapy all the time on social media and they give terrible advice. So they'll talk about boundaries a lot as like, oh, everyone needs to have boundaries, and like people misinterpret it, a lot. So what I think of it as is it's more of a discussion. It's not like, hey, here's a hard line, which is kind of what we were talking about. It should be like, hey, these are the things that like, make me feel good, what makes you feel good, and you find your middle ground that way. And, you can have a discussion all you want, but really you don't find out until you actually date the person for a while and figure out what actually happens. Because people will say a bunch of things, but then they will act a certain way. And so I think it's more of a process, and I think it's an ongoing, more of a discussion rather than a hard line of like, this is what I want. And, like, I'm not a big fan of talking on the first date about your past trauma and like outlining all of your boundaries at the beginning. You just kind of want to
Here's my
figure
list of
out
requirements, right?
none of that. Just go about it as more of a discussion, feel the other person out, and find a middle ground.
No.
Well, I don't know that much about all of that. I have not been in a relationship in a very long time, so I don't know. But yeah, typically when I feel like I have a boundary, like the best way to find a boundary is when you don't feel good.
Yeah.
Like when something happens, it doesn't make you feel good, to take a step back and be like, why didn't I like what that person said? Why didn't I like what they did? Like, why am I reacting this way? Why am I feeling this way? And it's often because somebody has crossed a boundary that you didn't know that you had.
That's really cool. Yeah, because I think there are boundaries that people do know they have, and then, like you said, there are these ones that are going to come up that they don't know or experience. That's a good point to be like, wait, I didn't even know this was a boundary, and then you can address it at that point in that way, right? Like, I didn't know this was a thing. However, I'm feeling. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah. I also don't like the word boundary. Anyone who's a client of mine who talks about boundaries a lot, they're usually a difficult client to deal with.
What word do you prefer instead?
Just like preferences, you know?
So
Yeah, I prefer preferences too. Boundaries me like it's my way or highway.
Yeah,
it sounds like a bit too
it's very aggressive.
obsolete. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, for
And
wording.
that does well. I agree. Boundaries is very permanent and seems very rigid, where there's no room for nuance.
Right.
Sometimes there is no room for nuance. Like if your
Yeah.
boundary is, please don't cheat on me. I'm asking you implicitly, do not cheat on me.
Yeah.
That's a boundary,
I mean,
right?
sure.
That's not a preference. That's a non-negotiable. But there's nuance for other things, so I get that. There can be maybe both.
I think people overuse the. Let
Sure.
me say it. People overuse the word boundary when they should be saying preference. That's what I
yeah,
think.
I agree with you.
yeah.
I would prefer you not to cheat on me.
So-
I would
Hard
prefer.
prefer.
Hard prefer.
It's actually like the cheating thing's like a really fascinating one. So I'll give my point on the difference in a boundary and a preference, because I deal with guys all the time that are like, you know, I think my girlfriend's cheating on me. I don't know what to do. Or I found out she's cheating on me, so I broke up with her, but I want her back. Like I get a lot of those kind of guys. I always say the difference between a boundary and a preference. A boundary, if you break it, that is the end of the relationship at that exact point, providing the person knew the boundary in advance. If they did not know the boundary in advance, that's where I think your point comes in, where you then say, hey, my fault, I didn't communicate this. That's a hard boundary. That is your one and only get out of jail free card on that action. The end. A preference is something you would like, but if you don't get it, you actually don't complain about it. You don't bring it up, and you just suck it up. So a good example is if you have a preference that somebody doesn't smoke, and you find out that they secretly smoke, because you didn't know, because you're dating, right? Because you didn't know they were smoking. Now you found out they're smoking a week into the relationship, but it's a preference, not a boundary. If you're not going to break up with them about it, the thing to do is to say, hey, just so you know, I'm not a fan of smoke. I'd love it if you could do it away from me, and just make sure you brush your teeth before you come back to see me again. The end. But you don't get on at them about changing it, because for you it's a preference, not a boundary. And the minute you try to apply your preference on somebody else, you're actually infringing on their rights to be able to do a thing that you have no real intention of enforcing. Because if you won't break up with them over it, it's an issue. And so cheating is a really fascinating one, because I meet a lot of guys that their woman will sleep with another guy, and the guy will break up with her, and they'll be like, no, wait, I want her back. And I'm like, that wasn't a boundary, bro. That was a preference. You should straight up have just said, hey, when you did that, I didn't like it. However, I'm not going to break up with you over it. So let's talk about how we can move forward in this scenario. Unless for you it is a boundary, at which point, well, then that's it.
So you think them wanting them back is like it was just a preference, or do you think they're just like lonely, or they're just hurt, or they're like, you know,
whatever the reason is, they should not have broken up because they don't stand by their own actions. Again, to me, this comes back to what I said earlier about consistency. I need you to do the thing you've always done. That's how I feel secure in anything. Like, I need you to behave the exact way you've always behaved. If their behavior is shifting, it's going to trigger insecurity. Now, that's not a problem because that's not a boundary for me. It's a preference. So if somebody does change, I'm not like, well, I'm going to break up with you over it. Instead, I'm just going to communicate, hey, this behavior always was this. This new behavior is this. That triggers my own insecurities because there's an inconsistency. Can we sit and talk about it? What's going on? What's happened? And 9 times out of 10, that new consistency, I'm like, okay, fine. That's now the new norm.
Yeah, because you got to be able to adapt. People grow. I mean, I'm not the same person I was 30 years ago. I wasn't the same person I was a week ago. You know, like I hopefully people are always growing, evolving, changing, learning. So there's got to be some room for some adaptability. But yeah, I get that.
We got another question as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so go for it.
I just want to read it before I say it out loud.
Ooh. Make sure there's no words
Do
we
you
can't
find
say.
that women are more often put off by a guy that is in an open relationship, even if he is transparent about it, in an appropriate manner in the background?
So the question is, do you find that women are more put off by men in an open relationship if they're transparent about it? So
Even
if they're transparent. I've had tons of experience in this, and I'll tell you, so much. And I'll make it really simple. I have never had a woman put off from having sex with me about the open relationship. I have absolutely had women that will date me for 3 months and then break up with me because they've now found somebody who they're like, well, this guy isn't open and I can keep this one. And I have a pretty much 100% success rate of within 2 to 3 years, that relationship ending and them coming back and being like, yo, you still open? And I now date them again for a period of time.
So hard to be you.
It's
So brave.
So much to balance.
It's an appendage.
So many, calendars and schedules and windows, to like fulfill.
Yeah, I think I have not as much experience as Adam in this, but they say if you ask them, like, are you okay with this? They'll be like, well, I prefer you not. But if they like you enough, it doesn't really matter. And like Adam said, it really depends on kind of what they want in the relationship. But for a short-term hookup, probably not as big of a deal.
So, but it'd be good to hear from the women, like, or Dane specifically, because obviously, I don't know about your preferences in this. If you met a guy and he said, hey, just so you know, I'm open, I date multiple women, but I think you're awesome, I'd like to date you.
Thank you for asking, because my visceral reaction is it's a no for me. But I'm fascinated by the poly lifestyle. I watch all these shows that are about it. The sister wives, seeking sister wife, seeking sister or husband, brother husband. That one I found very interesting because they have not featured those kinds of dynamics before. And yeah, all right, I'm talking about more than one husband. I like that idea because you just don't see that often. But it's not necessarily for me. That's something I need to work on myself where my jealousy will play a role. And I'm an only child, so I don't like to share my toys.
So that might be something I have to work on.
Yeah,
if that's something that you're okay with. Then.
But I logically totally understand it and I get it. And I would like to understand it and be more, because it feels like my heart's closed and I don't want to have my heart closed. I understand it from a purely logical, it makes sense. If everyone's consenting, it sounds like it's a beautiful thing. So I don't like that I feel that way about it. So that's just something I got to work on.
Your
myself.
Response is almost like 50% of the responses I ever hear.
No.
And for the record, the response of somebody who usually then says, let me try it with you. I'm sorry, that's like, and I just want everyone, I love that response. Like, and here at camera, like that is such a common answer. And I literally, it's like 50-50, because it's like, it's not for me. Even I like my toys, I'm an only child. That's a very common response. Like I like to keep my toys to myself. That's a common response.
I don't like to share.
Yeah, but also I'm curious. I like the idea of it. And what typically happens in those scenarios is I will stay friends with that person for a while. They will have a bad breakup. After the bad breakup, it's almost always the same. It's a breakup of a guy who's controlling and doesn't want her to have male friends. In that moment, I get called and they're like, how does this open poly thing work?
The window's opened.
And they go, can we meet for a coffee? I want to hear about it. They will then spill the beans about this controlling guy. And they're like, and it made me realize, like, why can't he do what he wants? And they're like, I want to try it. And that is so many of my relationships have started that way. But I agree with Lloyd. I don't think it's anything anybody should have to work on or feel they should work on. I think monogamy is beautiful if that's what you want. I think that if you want to just be with one person, I think that's great and you should go for it. I feel exactly the same about every format of every relationship. I think if 2 gay guys love each other, that's what it is. If 3 gay guys love each other, great. However you want to do it. Like, we live, as far as I'm concerned on this planet, we live for one goal, and that is to be happy.
Yeah.
And as long as that happiness doesn't come at somebody else's expense, as long as you're not upsetting anybody, you should focus on that happiness and being happy. And also, the thing that will make you the happiest is making people you love happy.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason that I am good in a relationship with 2 people is I think every day, what can I be doing to make them happier? Like, what else can I do to make them happy? And I'll put that thought at the front of my head almost every day. Whereas I think a lot of people in relationships say, what can this person do to make me happy?
Yeah.
Or how can I find somebody that makes me feel happy? Or if they do this, or if I date this person, will I then be happy? And that's where the problems come, because
that's a beautiful relationship. That's my gold standard, being in service of one another.
Yes.
When you work towards the common goal of what can I do to make the other one happy, chef's kiss.
Yeah. And it's hard. And it is hard because you can find yourself in a relationship. And this has happened to me countless times where I'm making them happy. And then I wait and I look back and I go, wait, are they making me happy? Like, am I in their thoughts? Do they try and make me happy? Do they do things?
Consider it. Be in consideration. Yeah.
And I'm willing to date anybody for, a month to work out if that's balanced. And then you do meet people that are willing to put in effort for 18 months. and then suddenly they're like, nope, I don't want to do this anymore. And this is the funny thing, like, talking about codependence, we often think of someone who's codependent as finally finding their voice and standing up for themselves. But also, codependence is a form of manipulation.
Absolutely.
Because you are basically saying yes to everything for a period of time until you feel secure enough to stand up and start saying what you actually want.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Whereas, like, for me in a relationship, I say it from the beginning. I'm like, this is who I am. This is what I'm after. I'm not going to change. I'm an old man. Like, this is basically what it's going to look like forever. There's no difference here. If you think I'm going to change, I'm not. But that's it. That's who I am. And what you see is what you get. 10 years from now, I'll be exactly the same. And it is interesting for people when they meet that, because, you get to recognize that maybe they can't take it. Like, when, we're going back 4 years ago now, me and Eve were dating a woman, and
Which one? Yeah, which one?
I'm not going to name names. But we dated for 2 years. And towards the end of the relationship, she started saying stuff like, I've been waiting for you to change.
Oh.
And I'm like, what do you mean you've been waiting for me to change? She goes, you need to do better. You need to realize what I want and start fulfilling that stuff. And I'm like,
Has she made those needs known?
no, not even a little bit.
That's
It came out of nowhere, like 18 months into the relationship. Like, when are you going to start doing this? I'm like, what do you mean, when am I going to start doing that? That's not ever been a thing.
That sounds like projection.
Yeah. So, have any of you had that experience? You date somebody for a period of time and suddenly they're a completely different person?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think in my case, she probably just wanted to break up and was looking for excuses, But yeah, I've had that happen. She was making demands that she knew I wasn't going to back off on. So I've definitely had that before, yeah.
How about you, Kat?
I've already shared about the last one.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, who suddenly out of nowhere changed. Yeah.
I mean, I think that relationship just ended because at some point we realized that we were more roommates and friends than we were romantic partners. So that was the change. It just wasn't romantic anymore. And we're still friends to this day. So sometimes it just works out better that you're friends. True.
Do we have any other questions at the moment to go?
I do have questions for Dane, though.
Yes.
So, due to your profession as an actress,
Yes.
do you have any juicy makeup roles? Like, we're gonna have to make out with people, or do sex scenes or anything like this? To, was there fun stories there too? With that regards.
Yes and no. It's funny because I am an actor, and I've had a really good friend who I was cast in all the time with, and he's a male friend, and he's a really great actor, and we were just constantly cast as husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, all the time. And it finally came up one time. He was like, "Have we ever kissed?" And I was like, "I don't think so." And it's like, there had definitely been times where it probably should have come up in the, whatever. Yeah. But because we're friends, I was like, I don't want to. It's weird. I obviously actively, I'm an actor. I should be able to do that. But because we were friends, so I was entrenched in his divorce, and we were super close. I was there with him for everything, and then it was just it was finally it was action. It was I guess I'm a little shy like that. I'm a little I'm not. I'm a very introverted extrovert. I will go there and do anything, but I do have some little I don't know. I'm shy.
You think there's anything you could have done to make it easier for you?
Maybe talking more about it instead of just being like, "Have we ever kissed?" It's like, "Ugh, I feel like you just put me on the spot."
Okay, I'll see you later.
It's pretty awkward that we haven't kissed, right? We're husband and wife in so many different things, and this role calls for it. And I don't know. I should have been able to separate more that I'm an actor from from the friendship. But yeah, I mean, I feel
like you could have done a lot of things to help out with that. Yeah,
I've had a sex scene with a partner, and that made it easier. Yeah, well, I mean,
Don't
we
they
were
make you wear a
partners.
sock?
No,
not you, the guy.
It didn't need it. We didn't need it because again, we were already sexual partners.
Wait, so wasn't that actual porn then, technically, right?
I mean, could have been. It should have been.
I thought there was
I kill him at the end of the sex scene.
Oh damn! I'm sure there's porn for that too, right?
Was there penetration during
my
this?
worst
No,
nightmare.
God, no.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
So you were both naked, but there was no actual penetration. It was simulation.
Yeah, it was simulated.
But you didn't wear underwear.
I think this is a long time ago now. I can't really
I've
remember.
only seen real porn filmed. I've never seen a sex scene in a non-porn
It's
film.
so
I'm like,
unsexy. It's so unsexy. There's
Yeah,
nothing
it's
sexy
awkward,
about it. It's
yeah.
awkward.
I assume so. But
There's like, modesty cloths and things.
I know. I've seen like interview with some. I don't remember who the actor was.
Intimacy
But it was
coordinators.
like it was like like the sock and stuff too, and it's always awkward. You're like, and it's a guy, right, telling the woman, like, it's always awkward when you like me text you about have a second and be like, hey, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I'm about to get in. Sorry if I get hard. Sorry if I don't get hard. You
Yeah, yes,
you never know
exactly.
what's like
Right.
more of a yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
I was wondering about that.
I know, right? It's like
That should be a sign that everyone has in their house, a neon sign. Sorry if I get hard. Sorry if I don't get hard.
Yeah, no, right? It's just really cool. But have you ever fallen for an actor that you've been like kind of dating on screen and then into real life as well too?
I want to say yes. My mind is blanking for some
Wow.
reason. You all have intimidated me with your magical stories of porn and everything. I'm like, what have I done? I haven't done anything.
You pretended to be a lot of things.
Yeah, I have. I pretended to be so many things. Which I think
What
is
do they
actually
mean?
better because like
Exactly.
I've worn scrubs. I've been a doctor. I've been a vampire, Lilith from the lore of Lilith like 3 times. I've been a badass. I've been so many things. Fallen for someone though, I think that's natural, because I'm the kind of type of actor that, I go there.
Yeah.
I feel things deeply. I am, for good or for bad, I am deeply, deeply affected by the content that I'm doing, reading, performing. I wear the skin of the character. So, if I fall in love, that happens, and then I fall right back out.
Oh wow! That's
Sometimes
cool.
you have to.
Yeah.
You have to manifest chemistry somehow.
Mhm.
You have to. But sometimes, like recently, I worked on a project and there was just no chemistry whatsoever.
oh, that's rough.
It was like I was like, and I was working on. I was like, I was doing the love eyes, holding her hand, everything, and it was just nothing.
Just
I was
bad
like-
actress.
Like, work with me,
Yeah.
baby. I wanna be in love with you. Come on, let's do this. Let me do you. No.
So it looks like we have a
Sorry.
question. No, that's okay. Go for it.
I like my best friend a lot, and I really want to ask her out. How do I do it?
So the question is, I like my best friend a lot, and I really want to ask her out. How do I do it?
Hey,
Before we
baby.
hear from a professional dating coach or either professional dating coach, what do you think?
I guess I need a little bit more detail. I mean, is
That's it.
the best friend?
That's what
So
we
they're
got.
just best friends? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, shoot your shot. There's nothing wrong with shooting your
How,
shot.
how should he say it? We know it's men.
Hey, we've been friends for a while. I've started to develop feelings for you. Would you be opposed to maybe moving this in a direction that's more romantic?
Okay, very conservative. Eve, what do you think?
Ew, cringy.
I would reword that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be like,
No?
oh,
Why? Not sexy?
No. So there's a couple. I like the way you started it, which was that like you're talking
Well,
about
it
how you
depends
feel.
on who it is, because you could also be like, "Hey, baby, want to fuck?" I mean, I don't know. Like, it just depends on what your dynamic is. Like,
yeah.
I mean, if it's a best friend, yeah, you probably want to be a little bit careful. But like, okay, so I did this actually when I was in college. I wasn't very good with women at all. I hadn't learned the stuff that I know now, and I saw in this show, it was like an American Pie show, and he did it, and it was like the most ridiculous thing ever. But that was like the one scene in the movie where I was like, that might actually work. And I'd been friends with this woman for 7 months. 7 months, we hung out every single week. And I was so in love with this person too.
Aw.
It was like crazy. Anyway, so I wrote it down. I wrote it down what I wanted to say. And I was like, hey,
Excuse
we've
me,
been
and
friends.
tell us something.
I memorized it. Don't
Okay,
worry.
thank
I practiced in the mirror like 50 times. So anyway, I wrote it down. And but I gave reasons for why I like her. I said, I think you're awesome. I really enjoy hanging out with you. You're like one of the smartest people I know. I listed stuff that I thought that was really cool that she was good at, and that I wanted to take her out on a date. And then I just said it, and my heart stopped, and it was the longest 2 seconds of my life. And she said yes.
Oh,
And then after that, she got back together with her ex-boyfriend. But
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there. Broke my heart.
Yeah, see, maybe he was like, "Hey, baby, want to fuck?"
yeah, just that line,
Maybe I
right?
fucked up. Maybe that's what I should have said.
I actually might have unconventional advice based on my real life as well too, right? Again, we normally don't have requests like this in our, inside of a dating stuff. So you obviously will have a better advice there as well than my advice. Maybe not. I'm not sure. Back in college, God, I was a heartbreaker. Oh my goodness. I studied computer programming, and all the guys there were just nerds, basically, right? I was like 5 girls and 30 guys, and the other girls were just, so I was the hottie. And I was the president of the class of the whole group. So everyone's just like, I have like a trail. I have like an entourage of men who carry my purses, carry my books for me, buy me lunches, Like literally, how many was it? There was 3 big, I think 5 total. 3 main nights that I have, and 5, like 2 other miscellaneous ones, What happened? All platonic friends, all have hearts for me. Goodness, I knew it all. They were like, oh, puffy eyes, like, do anything for you. And I did not care shits, of course, right? Like, you carry my books, you buy me lunch, you bring me coffee, right? Like, it was like my, horrible, right? Whatever. Anyhow, right?
Sounds like a movie.
I'm not surprised.
It sounds like a 90s movie.
Excuse you? No. Again, I wasn't hot in high school, So in college, I was hot because I wore braces in high school. It was not hot, But in college, I was hot. And boy, my ego grew so much. Mm-hmm. Anyhow. Didn't care 2 shits about them. They all had hearts in me. They all tried to shoot their shots. I'm like, yeah, whatever. The only time it worked, and they start dating someone else. And I'm like, what? Where are my nights? Where the hell they go? What? That girl? No, watch this. Like that's the only time it worked. But again, the moment I won the back, okay, no one wants you then. Which is horrible, of course, too, Very evil. Funny. But it works so well because it's like, I'm like, are you dating now? You? My fellow follower? Again. Worked horribly, but again, pre-selection worked at the end anyway, basically. Like it's kind of like teach. Not a healthy way to channel it, I would say, right? There is a better way to do it, but nonetheless.
So I got good at dating at 26. Up until 26, I was really bad. And
like how bad?
Well, it's the bad that 2 girls ask you to use your penis and be like, oh no, I want to go to sleep.
Right, okay.
Is that dating?
I had a crush on a blonde German with large breasts who worked as a waitress in a local burger joint. And I would go there every day, twice a day for lunch and dinner to order a burger.
Guten Tag.
Because the burgers were good and because she was there. And I was madly in love with her. And every time I'd hang out with her, we became really good friends because I was there twice a day, every day.
She was there twice a day?
She was there for lunch and dinner, because it was like from like 1 until 8. And so I would go for lunch, I'd come back for dinner.
She worked a lot.
She worked 8 hours a day. I mean, 5 days a week, but 8 hours a day.
That's standard. That's how people work usually.
It's like
8 hours a day. Yes,
that's
it's
standard.
8 hours a Lloyd.
You go in for breakfast, you're like, hi. Come back in for dinner. Damn, you're still here?
But yeah, it was lunch and dinner. So it's not that. But she was there a lot. And so we became friends and we started hanging out a bit as buddies. And she had a boyfriend, and her boyfriend was clearly abusive. And I was a nice guy. And I was just kind of waiting, didn't really see anyone else, wasn't good at dating. And one day her boyfriend beats her up. Ooh. And so she quits and quits the relationship. And she ends up actually getting fired from the job just by coincidence for something completely separate. So she's got no job, no boyfriend, nowhere to stay. And I had a 1-bedroom apartment and I had a living room. But the design of my apartment was really bad. So the living room had a kitchen and a bedroom off of it, and the bathroom was off of the bedroom. Okay. So you couldn't get to the restroom without walking through the bedroom, which is very important. So I offered her to sleep in the living room. And so she became my roommate. She had no money. And so she paid by cleaning my house and cooking and giving me massages.
Oh, nice.
Foot massages specifically. And I love
a foot massage.
I would come home from work, my feet sweaty, and she'd be like, Adam, give me your feet. And and I would be like, they're stinky, let me go wash them. She goes, no, don't be stupid. Like, is your feet hot now? And so she would like massage my feet while I'm watching TV. It was great. But every morning she would wake me up to make sure I wasn't late for work as my alarm clock.
So nice.
By walking into the bedroom, going up to the bed, grabbing my morning wood, shaking it and going, good morning, Adam. And then she would go into the shower.
Guten Morgen.
And I would wake up with basically 2 shakes and then being left frustrated the entire day.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's the German way.
She lived with me for
German
6
alarm, right?
months. Yeah. It was the most frustrating. I had no idea what to do. I had no idea how to date this woman. 6 months she lived with me. She eventually got a job. She moved out and she left. And it was 3 years later. So from 24, I'm now 27. And I got really good at dating, like really good. And that was the one. I was like, I need to The hand job has to be
unfinished business.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
that's gotta happen.
Wow. That's a
And-
German handshake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which got me in a lot of trouble when I visited
Hamburg.
Anyway, so long story short, the technique I used and is still the one that we teach today is you stop contacting somebody for a period of time. So I actually stopped contacting her for a whole year. And that break in contact actually kills the friendship and knocks it back to an acquaintanceship.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to escalate a friendship into a relationship. Possible, but hard. It's so hard. I actually recommend you don't do it. I recommend you stay friends and don't push for the relationship. It gets weird. It gets creepy.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to not talk to them for a year, and it's not that you ignore them, you just be busy. And that's what I do. I was like, hey, honey, I'm so sorry. I'm busy. I can't hang out. And after a few months of that, they get the hint. And they go, okay, well, this guy's obviously too busy for me doing his own thing. So whatever. And so I have a year of getting really good at dating. And I meet a whole bunch of women. I have a lot of sex. And a year later, I'm like, hey,
As you do.
I miss you. I haven't spoken to you in ages. Can I take you to dinner to say sorry and catch up? And she's like, heck yeah, you can. You owe it to me. You've ignored me for a year, mofo. And so I take her out to dinner. But I didn't just take her out to dinner. I took her out to dinner with 20 women who were hanging out with me at the time. And she's like, who are these women? I was like, oh, they're all awesome. This one's a lawyer. This is a ballet dancer. And she's like, what has happened to you?
Are these separate checks?
Yeah, I was like, no, I was like, I'll pay for the whole thing. It's fine. Because I worked in the nightclubs, the food was free. So
Can
I was
go
like,
to one of your
I got it.
nightclubs? I want to go so bad.
It was pretty cool. So yeah, and so at the end of the night, all these women are all over me and they're all trying to get with me. And I just basically just keep treating her like my friend, like we were back in the day. And she looks at me and she says, there's all these beautiful women trying to date you. Why aren't you talking to any of them? And I was like, because I'm hanging out with my best friend I haven't seen for a year. And you are the most important woman in this room. And she's like, there's no way you mean that. Look at these women. And I was like, I have missed you every day coming in my room and grabbing my dick to wake me up. She laughs and giggles because there's that little sexual tonality. And I was like, where are you crashing tonight? And she's like, oh, I was going to get a cab back home. I was like, well, your old bed's still there. Do you want to crash at mine? And she goes, okay. And so we go back to our place and I set up her bed in the living room. And I said, I'd like to do something I've never done in the entire time you stayed here, and I should have. And she goes, what's that? I was like, get in bed with you and give you a hug. I was like, I kept going in my bed and I never got into the same bed as you. And I thought about it all the time.
Just hugging. Only hugging.
In German, hug is actually another word for sex. Hugging. No, it's not. So I was like, yeah.
Nice.
And she goes, absolutely. And so we get in bed and we hug. And I lock eye contact her. She locks eye contact with me. And we make out.
Okay,
And
Adam,
then we
I'm
have
gonna
sex.
call you out on something.
Go for it.
She asked you, "There's no way that you mean that," and then you proceeded to act. This was all a plan.
Which was the plan?
The whole thing that you just said.
Yeah, that's what I'm teaching. That's what you should do. It works.
But you didn't really mean that. She's the most important woman in the
She was
room.
absolutely the most
She
important person in
was?
that room.
Because-
100%. The other 20
Because
women
she
were
won
just
that
people
one.
I take.
Yeah.
No. The other 20 women were just women that I took to the nightclub.
They were all
She was-
decoys and in on this.
Not decoys, just generic women that I bring to the nightclub every single night. That's how it was. So you remember, I had a database of 4,000
You sound
women.
like Batman, Christian Bale's Batman, when he takes all the ballerinas
Like
out.
you saying I'm Wayne,
Yeah,
like Bruce Wayne.
yeah.
That's no. Like the reality is, I had a database of 4,000 women, and if you wanted to go to a nightclub and you were on my mailing list, it was free.
Oh,
So I used to provide the party.
Can I get on the mailing list?
Right, exactly. That's how it worked. Pharrell, P. Diddy, and what have you. And so we're friends. So I'd be like, totally. And I'd be like, bring some hot friends. And then you'd be there
That's
with
the
all your
deal.
friends, but you wouldn't be the woman I invited.
Sure.
You would just be the chick that invited yourself.
Okay.
I'm joking. No,
I mean,
but-
that's fine.
right. But and that's the point. So most of the women I went out with, I knew them, but they weren't women I wanted to date.
Okay.
What I would do is I would individually invite one specific. Actually, this is a really fun one because this happened the other day. So I lecture at the University of Texas every so often.
UT.
Yep, UT.
This?
Yeah. And so
It's this.
Cook 'em ones, yeah. And so
Rock and roll.
that's
Just rock and
oh
roll.
no, that's
This is
TCU.
I love you.
That's TCU.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, anyway. So I went there and I had an assistant with me. It's this young guy, and all the young college women, he was like oogling, and he's like, "How are you gonna teach with all these young, beautiful women here?" I was like, "Well, they're too young for me. Like they're 19. Like I'm in my 40s. That's not my type."
So my demographic.
Right. And he goes, "Yeah, but he's like, it would be so difficult for me, blah, blah, blah." It's like, I'm older. Like, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm a teacher. I was like, and I would never cross that line. And he goes, never. You would never cross that line. I was like,
It's a boundary.
right. I was like, I would never cross that line. One, I like lecturing at UT.
Yeah.
Two, these women look far too young for me. Like, 25 up is like about as low as I would go in terms of age, at my age. I was like, because they look young. I've got teenage children. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna date a teenager. But I said to them, if I wanted to use UT to date a woman, the way I would do it is I would meet a woman in a bar that I'm attracted to, and I would say, "What are you doing tomorrow?" "I'm lecturing at UT. Do you want to sit in on my lecture?" And she would sit in the room and she would see all the young, beautiful women asking me questions. Like, "Professor, can you help me with this? Professor, can you help me with that?" And I would get her. And it was exactly what I did in the nightclub. So yes, the other 20 women are just generic women who are just there, but you invite the one you want who gets to see you in that attractive environment. And this is how you break out the friend zone. This works time and time again. Create distance, let them come and see you in an environment where they see you have your pick, but you only have eyes for her. Because she is not a generic woman, she's your friend or was your friend. And now she recognizes that you guys had something really special. It was never a intimate connection. And now enough time has passed that she can look back and say, wow, this guy is a catch. This guy has become something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make my move.
Yeah. I think the time thing works. In your situation, do you think if you just went for it, she's already grabbing your dick,
Oh, I 100% believe if I could go back in time and I had any dating skills whatsoever, I probably could have made something happen.
I think it would have been a slam dunk.
Right, but this is the point. I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
And you've seen pictures of me at 2006. Like I was chubby. Like I was eating 12 Krispy Kreme donuts a day. Like, I was a big guy.
so good.
If you've ever seen me at a Krispy Kreme donut, you know how much I love those things. Like I will.
When they're fresh and hot, they just disappear into your mouth like cotton candy. They just.
She saw me eat one for the first time like 2 days ago, and she literally said to me, "If you don't stop making those noises, you're making better noises eating that than you do that." That's what she said to me.
I make those noises for a donut, for a fresh hot Krispy Kreme.
See, it's a Krispy Kreme donut. Like,
Yeah, you're not having sex with it.
Nothing feels
You don't
as
put your
good
dick in the hole.
as a donut tastes.
not anymore. I don't have to anymore. No, I'm joking. I never did. But yeah, it's there's something really interesting about a guy who has no skills whatsoever, and they think that there are no opportunities. Because if you'd have met me at 24 with my German roommate, I would have said, "No one's interested in me. I've got no hope whatsoever. Women don't like me. I'm a loser."
Like a virgin.
Yeah, and I'd say to her, I was like, "There's no way she's gonna sleep. If she was gonna sleep with me, she should have done it already. She grabs my dick every day. She's clearly just enjoying frustration."
Maybe that was just the opening offer.
Well, yeah, and it took
It's a
3 months to
negotiation.
close. 3 years to close. We got 2 more questions.
Sorry.
Let's see the next one.
Would you consider not liking pictures of the opposite sex a healthy boundary?
I think
Not
most,
unconscious.
honestly, a lot of women I've talked to have that. They really don't like it. They're
So-
like, why'd you like that girl's picture? All that stuff. Yeah.
On social media.
On social media.
Is it healthy as a guy for you not to click like on another woman's pictures to respect your woman?
Not to click like. So is it healthy not to click like, basically?
Yeah. So for example, if
it's superficial. Do what the fuck you want. If you like the picture, like the picture. God damn it. It's not healthy to be like, control yourself, what other might think, what have you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I think it comes from, and I can attest to this. It comes from who is the like for? Who are you telling? Because now it's everyone's business. Everyone can see that you, in a committed relationship, like this very scantily clad woman's picture. What else? What is the point of that? If you're friends with her, let her know you like her stuff in person.
Yeah.
Now everyone knows and is like, I wonder if the relationship's doing well because he's liking those photos. It just makes for gossip.
Yeah.
It makes for things that are uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think a lot of women would probably have a problem if, she's wearing a bikini and she's got her ass out in Tulum or something like that. Then
Tulum.
probably don't want to be liking that picture. But if she has a photo of her in nature or something, and you're like, oh, that's a cool background.
Yeah.
You can like that. It's probably
Context
not too big of a deal.
matters.
So
Yeah.
it's definitely the context.
I mean, what about the flip side? Do men appreciate when they're women in a committed relationship are liking scantily clad men photos?
True story.
Scandalous man.
I don't look at what the people I'm dating click like on.
Well, sometimes it just shows
Sometimes
up
it
in your
appears.
feed.
Sometimes it appears,
you don't even ask for it.
I
It just shows up. It's
Literally
like,
don't use social media in that way.
But it appears on your feed, like if you have a mutual friend.
What I mean is I don't scroll my feed like that. Like
He just takes notifications. He just doesn't scroll. He just comes notifications.
Social media uses him.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't use social
Okay.
media.
yeah, I just don't care that much. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it depends on the context, on why you're liking these people's photos.
Would you ask somebody? Would you why did you click like on that one?
Well, so I was dating a guy, and he was liking porn star girls' photos, and I found out because I followed this porn star because I met her, and I saw his name would pop up under her photos.
Mm-hmm.
But he's liking her photos because he's friends with her. We all hung out together. That's how I met her.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know, just a friend.
Again, right? If she's an actress, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
You're very much in that world where I think a lot of the people you meet are in that, and I think for maybe one who's not in that in the nightlife or not in the lifestyle, they can get a little insecure about it. Yeah.
I think as a guy, I'll give some insight for some women on this. Guys don't really think too much about what they do. Like, I've totally clicked like on a half-naked woman's picture because I thought the backdrop was cool. And I was like, that's a cool forest backdrop. Right? And
No,
Sure you like that backdrop.
Yeah.
Sure, Jan.
no, dude, I'm telling you,
Dan.
this happens. Like, I absolutely will do that. Or like if I've got a friend and I know she's doing like a burlesque show and she's like putting pictures up.
Tuesday.
And I'm like, I know she cares how many likes she gets. Even if I'm like, I'm never gonna go to the burlesque show, sorry. Like, I'm not interested. I'm like, but still, here's an extra like for you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I hope that's the one
You
that
get a
makes it go
like.
viral.
You get a like.
I'm just picturing Adam like this is some girl's taking a photo of her in underwear in her house, and Adam's commenting, "Water your plants."
That will be me. I care about the plants. I'd be like, yo, your plant's dying, girl.
Ficus is dying in the background.
It's pretty interesting. Like, there was an actress. Like, I've actually got pretty into following actresses on social media, mostly because
I don't think you follow me.
Sorry, I mean the good ones. And it's not.
Shots
And that's
fired
my
on the
time.
podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I've known her longer than you, bro. Well, she's-
I'm
That's true.
joking, Dane. I just don't follow you online, but I will.
You
will
like to see
now.
your
I
butt.
will.
You
And
will
I'll
now.
click like on.
Yeah,
I'll click like on all your pictures where you have clothes on. So
good deal.
right, but so I've started following actresses online because genuinely, for everyone out there, they will show behind the scenes of really good movies that you don't know about. And I'm a cinephile. I like movies. So, there's a bunch of women now that I'm following who are, actors, and Rachel Lee Cook every so often will respond. And I'm like, that's pretty cool.
That's so cool.
Right?
Who is that?
She's all that. And
She took off her glasses and she was hot.
Yeah, she's like, in every movie, like every teen movie, glasses on, she's unattractive.
Glasses off.
and she's hot.
Who is that?
Right, but she was in like a cool,
That was Clark Kent, though.
and
That
Rachel Lee
too,
Cook.
Right?
That
Okay.
too.
Just
But
wanted to
she was
say.
in a cool she was in a cool horror film. Like, I'm kind of nerdy about that kind of stuff, so I was like watching it, and it was cool. Like, I was commenting on it, and it was great. But like, I think about that, like, that's become something that I these are actors I grew up with who are now, they're not in the prime of their career, and they are responsive online, like, which is pretty cool. But I'm not, hoping to meet them or anything like that.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I don't even
different.
want to meet them.
Yeah.
But I do like supporting them. I'm like,
Sure.
heck yeah, I love that you're doing that, and click like on it. But I think, and what I'm really just trying to show is men click like on stuff, not just because a woman's hot. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't dudes going around clicking like on every woman's picture, hoping to hit on them. But there are definitely guys out there that are clicking like just because they're like.
As someone who's on the receiving end of likes and DMs, it's really easy to click on someone's name and you see that they're married and they've got, kids in their profile picture. And it's just the things that I get in my DMs are, it's a lot of it is not fun. And so that's when I see the other side of it, when I'm on the receiving end of it, it's like, wow, that's a married man doing that. Just to me, little old me, who's a nobody, so that's where it comes up from. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, my reaction's always the same. Oh, that's interesting.
Scandalous.
Oh yeah, and I think that's the difference. Like versus DM. I'm not DMing these people.
Sure.
Right? I'm just like, yeah.
And
or I'll comment publicly.
Sure.
Because I got nothing to hide.
Well, I
So
also
I'm
get those too. But like, liking a famous person's photo is like, they're never going to see it. And like, what are they going to do? Run away with you? Like, that's not something that I think normal women or women in relationships are concerned with. It's your mutual friend, Becky, who's all of a sudden like, It's like, why are you so close with her now? Why are you liking all of her photos? Like, that seems like, what are you trying to do? Why is, that's where the limit is.
Yeah.
It's porn stars, the influencers, they're never going to see it. I'm not worried about you and, Jenna Jameson. Yeah, I'm not worried about you two. Like, and if y'all do hook up, that's great. Tell her I said hi.
All right, next question.
As a dating coach, and you've interacted with other dating coaches from different countries and cultures, what have you noticed are the universal principles?
All right, so the question is, as a dating coach who has interacted with dating coaches and people from different cultures and countries, what are the universal principles of attraction? Thank you ever so much for saying the name of one of my books.
Shout out.
So this is an interesting one. So first of all, let me give you an idea of the kind of places that I have practiced and taught. I have taught in South Korea, Japan. I have taught all over Europe, from Denmark to Belgium to France to Germany.
Bonjour.
I've taught in South Africa, from Durban, Johannesburg, and Cape Town. I've taught in North America and South America. I've taught in Canada. I've taught in England. I've not taught in Russia, but I have definitely spent time in Russia and spoken to people about dating in Russia more than enough that I feel that I'm somewhat knowledgeable there. And I've taught in Shanghai.
Australia.
I've taught in Australia. Yeah,
Whoa.
that's true.
Colombia.
Colombia. Central America, I suppose. So I've taught in
all
a
around the
lot of
world.
different places. Yeah, all over the globe. And there are definitely some nuances. For example, South Korean women don't like evidence that they're going to nightclubs. So when I was trying to get pictures taken of myself with South Korean women, they were like, no. And I was like, why is no one taking pictures? And it took me talking to a South Korean dating coach to be like, dude, they don't want evidence for their parents. Their parents don't know they're here. And so that was a unique nuance. I find that in England, women are far more likely to have sex with you, believe it or not.
I believe.
In America, they're far more likely to make out with you. So you can get a make out really easy in America. Women tend to be a little bit more reserved when it comes to sex. In England, the make out is harder.
Huh.
But
A snog is harder than a shag.
Yeah, but sex tends to happen a little bit easier. So there are these sort of like nuances. Australians tend to be wild. We can stereotype, but
Australia's, can I just say, is Australia's #1 export beautiful blonde tan people who are really great at acting? What is going on? Like, that's all they produce.
It's the only one that allowed to leave,
It's weird to think about that was all the old England criminals that got shipped over there. Well, were all the criminals just beautiful? Like, come on, it's not
that was
fair.
the crime, the beauty.
you should totally watch the movie Wolf Creek.
Wolf Creek.
Yeah, great horror film that shows a different side to Australia.
Oh,
So yeah, it's.
I bet they're still hot.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting film. But anyway, but there are generic principles, right? So we teach them pretty extensively. Number one is pre-selection. We call it abundance. It's where you have lots of women who are friends that are the kind of people you would date. And as long as you're surrounded by the kind of people you would date, it's very easy to meet other people because they're friends and they go, oh, this guy hangs out with people like me, so I can hang out with him. So that's, part one. Part two is confidence. You got to be confident to be attractive, but most people misunderstand confidence. We actually had an interesting scenario recently with a guy who believed he was confident, but he was actually overconfident, which is when someone's trying to compensate. And they have like a fake persona and they're really trying to pretend to be somebody that they're probably not. And you can tell because they end up apologizing for their own behavior because they're like, you know what, I disagree with what I just did or just said. And it's a good example of someone who probably isn't that confident. Real confidence comes from experience, knowing that what you're doing works.
Yeah.
I'm incredibly confident about dating because I've just done it so often. I know what works. I don't go home alone. Like if I go out to meet somebody, I come home with somebody, and that's not a brag. It's a fact at this point in life. Like it's just if I want to meet somebody, I know exactly what to do to meet somebody and take them home. And so that's real confidence, and that comes from experience. First time you drive a car,
You've never met anyone you couldn't take home?
That's not what I said.
Oh, sorry.
I said any night I go out,
You-
I could definitely take someone home.
Oh, okay. But you have met people who are just
I've met people that are married that are going home to their husband. Absolutely.
okay.
But if I meet a single woman
Okay.
and she's attracted to me and I'm
Okay,
attracted
right,
to her,
okay,
you know what I mean?
okay.
Like, so, but there are guys that go out like, oh, I didn't get lucky tonight. To me, it's not luck. I know exactly how to go out. I know how to spot somebody who's single based on their body language. Yeah, I know exactly how to talk to them in a way that doesn't make them feel weirded out. I know how to get consent. I know how to outline what it would look like if we were going to be together so that they can make an educated decision. I know exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. But that's not, I can get everyone, but I never have to go home alone. And also I don't want everyone. I actually have a funny thing, which is I have 100% success rate of getting the people I want. But I don't decide I want someone until I've hung out with them for like an hour.
Well, that's good.
Right, exactly. But there are guys out there like, what do you mean? You know, because they'll argue, they'll be like, you said you could get everyone. It's like, no, I said I can get anyone I want.
You want, yeah.
And that's different.
Yeah, that's totally different.
Yeah, but I do like at least an hour of talking to somebody before I decide.
At least, I mean, my God,
'cause you gotta
sometimes it
find
takes years to get to know if you like someone or
Right,
not.
Yeah.
you'll find out that I'm a serial killer, right? And so confidence.
Will they divulge that information within an hour? Hi.
I like to think that within an hour you can get an idea. I definitely dated somebody who was under home arrest, and that was there was a good
Ankle bracelet hot.
It was a good 20-minute conversation where it was 50-50 if they killed their partner and were under investigation or not. But so yeah, confidence comes from experience. I like to think the first time you drive a car, you're nervous and scared. The more you drive a car, the better you get at it. So that's where confidence comes from.
Experience, yeah.
And then the last thing is sexual escalation, the ability to be able to bring up sex in a way that isn't weird or creepy or make somebody feel strange, so that they can choose to have sex with you if you want. We call that the ACE formula. If you want to learn more about it, you can go to aceformula.com/gift. We have free gifts that you can go there and get. So if somebody's watching this and they want that, you can go there. You can learn all about the ACE formula at that website. It's free to learn about it. You only pay if you actually want us to coach you through it. If you just want to learn it, it's there. You can just go there and get the theories. But yeah, I would say they're the generic principles. And I'll tell you why, because I think this is fascinating. If you only have 2 of those qualities, you're not successful with dating. Here's why. If you're surrounded by people that are attracted to you, that you would like, and you're confident, but you have no idea how to turn anyone on, you're just going to have a lot of friends. If you are surrounded by people you're attracted to and you know how to turn them on, but you're not confident, you'll end up dating somebody, but it won't be the one you want. You'll end up getting somebody else. And if you're very confident and you know how to turn people on, but in general, women don't really like hanging out with you, you're going to be that really annoying guy that just shoots his shot and makes loud, weird comments. And, but like, you're not actually going to be attractive. Whereas, I have a healthy group of women that are really beautiful and fun. I'm incredibly confident about who I am, not overly confident, and I'm somewhat good sexually. So the combination of these 3 things, somewhat. The combination of these 3 things makes you attractive. And I don't care where you are in the world, that's going to work across all everything. So, and I do believe that was the final question. So I'm going to wrap it up at this point. If people want to learn more about each of you, where should they go to find out who you are and where you are?
Cool. My name's Lloyd Dixon. You can find me at The Single Guy. That's on YouTube. Just search The Single Guy. You can find me on Instagram at a.single.guy, and my website, which is coming out soon, www.thesingleguy.com.
Really cool. You can find me on Instagram at TheEFlyance.
Perfect. For me, I'd go to askthedatingcoach.com/gift. Download one of our free gifts. I'd highly recommend the 52 signs of attraction. That's 52 signs that a woman is interested in you. If you only know 1 or 2 signs, you're missing out on 50 other possible opportunities of somebody liking you. For example, if a woman walks past you every day and grabs your penis, that's a sign of attraction. You get that one for free. But you actually get all 52 for free if you go to the website and download it.
I'm Alley Cat online on everything. So.
Same. I'm Dane Berkshire, at Dane Berkshire on all the Instagrams and TikToks and social medias. But I also have a website, daneberkshire.com, and also my small business shout out, berkshirebathory.com. You can also find me on TikTok and Instagram there, Berkshire Bathory.
Berkshire Bathory. There you go. Once again, for everybody tuning in, thank you so much for supporting us. We really appreciate it. Trying to give you, an alternate view of dating from people that have been doing this for 18 years. Really appreciate you guys supporting us. Please spread the word. Let people know about about the podcast. We can only grow this with your help. Please let everybody know. We may have some really cool announcements coming out soon. We're keeping it quiet for now, but we've got some cool stuff planned. So thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for supporting the show. And we look forward to seeing you next week on Ask the Dating Coach. Woo!